know if our comments are working, but we are on. Let me see.
Let's see if there's a. Do you want to place bets? Who makes the first comment?
I bet you it's.
I say E-Girl.
Yeah, I was gonna say E-Girl is on it every single time.
My vote is for E-Girl. She manages to be the first one to the punch every week.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. Okay, let me get this logged in. So we'll start with Rogue One, but everyone say hi. I'm Mike from CreatorCast, and Zoe Hinton's my daughter who does Star Wars Geek Girl.
And I'm Ken, one of the 5 hosts from the Forces Behind Star Wars.
I'm John from the Beskar Bucket,
and we're the man, I forgot. We're the Inflatable Falcon on Wednesday nights. It's been a long week. It's only Wednesday.
What are we doing here? Oh,
Ark is first.
We were all wrong.
We were all wrong. Well,
good to see Ark.
So we're glad you're on, Ark. We were thinking it was going to be E-Girl, but we're glad you're on.
That's embarrassing.
No.
All right. So we're going to talk Rogue One for a minute. So John had to step out, so we're going to let John step out because he didn't see it. Me and Ken will talk Rogue One.
Right, I'll be right back.
All right. So Ken, I was watching for me, it made me remember why Star Wars is better seen in a theater.
Yeah, I can see that. I could absolutely see that, especially considering that this was in the theater and in IMAX.
Yeah, yeah. It also made me think how much I love assigned seats because they don't have assigned seats at the IMAX.
Oh, they don't. Ours does. What was really funny about it for us? So Heather and I went. The boys were busy that night, so it's just the two of us. It was a little date night, and even with assigned seats, there was maybe at the upper level 20 people in the whole theater.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And we typically either sit in the back row of the front section so that nobody's behind us,
right,
or the front row of the back section so that nobody's in front of us. And even with that thought out process, even with that picking our seats, we still managed to have a herd of goofballs behind us that were kicking the seats next to Heather and were just irritating the bejesus out of her.
Oh man, I'm sorry. That's the only downside when they re-show a movie, because then people don't take it as seriously. But like with the IMAX we were in, it's really steep. Like it's one of those big IMAXs.
Oh, the ginormous ones.
It's not the ginormous kind, but it's built like the ginormous kind. If that makes sense. So
the stadium seating.
Yeah, like their knees are above my head. You know, like it's I think it was more built like that for space at this one. But just going to see it again. He didn't. Yeah, John didn't have an IMAX near him either. But going to when I was looking by the middle of it, I was looking at the costumes more. Like I was looking at those blue flight suits. I I do a flight suit. Maybe I'll do a blue one. You know.
I would love to do one that's altogether different than the blue and the orange and stuff like that. Maybe, I don't know. I'd have to come up with a look. But yeah, I definitely loved the difference in the costumes. And Ark says the closest theater is 200 miles away from him. I'm very spoiled. We have one that's probably less than 10 miles away from us.
Yeah, it's about 13. Donna came up.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's another one in Atlantic City, so that might be 20 or 25 miles away from us.
And now, where's the one near you? Is that how far are you from King of Prussia?
Oh, that's like 45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah, I lose track of where King of Prussia.
Yeah, this is Tilton Square Theater. It's a small theater near us that has one IMAX theater, and then maybe 6 or 7 other theaters or rooms or whatever.
Yeah.
And then the big IMAX is in the Tropicana Casino.
Oh, okay.
So-
Yeah, we have a really big one in Philly in the Franklin Institute.
Oh yeah, that's where I saw the Muppets.
Yeah, we have that one, and we have another one like that at Harrisburg. It's like a smaller version of the Franklin Institute, Whitaker Science Center,
Okay.
and that one you're almost sitting like you can. It feels like you're gonna fall out of your seat down into a hole. Like
Oh my
it
goodness.
feels like a. But
Hold on one second.
Yeah, who's leaving? It's just me. 200 miles away though. That's a rough one.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, we're spoiled too because we have that one, and then if I had to, I could run down to Maryland. Like Bel Air is like an hour away, but
Okay.
they have a nice one in Bel Air as well. Zoe went to see it in Burbank, and she's going to El Capitan Friday to see it.
That's
or
cool.
Whatever the Chinese, I don't know what did it used to be called? The Chinese theater?
The Chinese Theater.
Chinese Theater, but
the
now
one right there on Rodeo Drive.
Yeah, right there on Hollywood Boulevard.
Yeah, Hollywood Boulevard. That's what.
Yeah, she's going there with a bunch of mercs on Friday because she met
cool.
a bunch of mercs at an armor party.
That's really, really cool.
So,
plus, she can get pictures of R2D2 and C3PO steps in the concrete.
Are they still up front? Because someone was telling me they moved them. Like what those ones in front of the theater, they can be pulled out and moved.
Oh yeah, I don't know. Maybe they might move them to protect them. I mean, you wouldn't want.
Yeah, they'll clear them out so when someone's having a big day, they're not like, okay, you're 4 streets down. We're gonna have the ceremony. Yeah, I'll have to ask her because when we went to LA, it was so crowded there. We didn't want we just went to Scum and Villainy. We were like, because Scum and Villainy is like what 2 blocks down or a block and a half down from there. But it was like Dirty Elmo and Dirty Darth Vader getting their pictures with tourists out in front of Man's Chinese Theater.
Well, it's kind of like Times Square.
Yeah.
Times Square has all of those folks.
Yeah, that's funny.
What else did you like about seeing Rogue One again?
Oh, the battle over all the Scarif stuff. Because I had seen it. I think the first time I saw Rogue One was in an IMAX. We trooped it, and then they saved us a whole row, and then we all, But I wasn't really paying attention as much because I was just, I just got done trooping, and I was, but the all that just the color palette of that movie is different than the sequels, I think.
Yeah, absolutely, and they're different than the original trilogy too. Just I think due to the technology and the nature of the equipment that they use to capture all of that stuff.
Yeah.
That was Scarif by it. So I think Scarif might be one of the most beautiful places that they went to, other than Naboo.
Yeah. Well, and the preview of Andor kind of made it even better.
Yeah.
Because like I think Andor is going to. I'm curious how I know what stories are going to be set, what people are going to hate about it. I know right now it's going to be too political or too this, too that, but it looks like it's going to be a really cool ride. So,
well, I'm curious with the political part. I'm wondering if folks are going to take such a hard stance to the politics because of some of the comments that have been made about it so far, saying, that it could fit into today's Trumpian climate and everything like that.
Well,
and there are certain phrases that get thrown around nowadays that when people use them, I truly don't think they know what they're saying when they say it.
I also think nowadays, just because of where we've come, if you think of the political climate, George Bush's first, when he was first elected and all that stuff, there was
second George Bush.
Yeah, the second one. Well, even for any of them, even Clinton, any of them, there was still all this stuff going on, but you could detach yourself from it because you didn't have social media, and even when social media started early, it was never really political. You might have one uncle that would send you weird stuff about like spacemen and Bat Baby, but you know what I mean. It was, and now it's interwoven, and so the people who watched Star Wars and understood all the political underpinnings, and some weren't even that well underpinned in all the Star Wars movies, they understood it, and the people that weren't political or didn't want it politics in their sci-fi, they didn't realize was there.
Yeah, what's funny is so people of our age now, when we talk about the politics in Star Wars, we can understand it and see it. But
Yep.
when I was a kid, it was still there, but I didn't even know it.
Yeah,
I didn't understand it. I didn't pay attention. Like I didn't realize that the Emperor was supposed to be a stand-in kind of for Richard Nixon. Like I didn't know that. I didn't realize that the Ewoks were supposed to be a stand-in for the Viet Cong. Like I didn't know those things.
Right. See, well, for me, the first political stuff was, I remember watching American Graffiti when I was really young, probably younger than I should have been. But at my house, everyone liked cars. Before Star Wars, I lived near a drag strip. Everyone worked on cars, so we watched American. And the end of that almost set that political tone because it was an anti-Vietnam war without really mentioning Vietnam. It showed what happened to the people afterwards. And then when I saw Star Wars, the New Hope, the only thing political that hit me was the droid detector. When they wouldn't serve the droids, because we live 15 miles from the Mason-Dixon line, and my grandfather would tell me stories of like when he worked down south in DC, they would make the buses segregate. When they left DC, they would make people move to the back of the bus when they went into Virginia or something like that. And so that's the only thing political that hit me because I'd had those stories growing up. But Rogue One into Andor, I think. The plus side is to me with Andor and all these things, you get kids that will see this and it will help them understand the bigger picture. Like and I'm curious if they're going to keep Jedi completely out of Andor. Like if it's just going to be about the little people.
Well, I think it will be about the little people. And there will still be moments of either references to or even possible sightings of Jedi and maybe even Vader.
Yeah, I would think Vader
and the Emperor
pop up once or twice, but I also think Vader can't. I still think they have to be sparing with how they use Vader. I'm hoping more for a visit from Dr. Aphra and 000 myself.
As you should.
Well, see, I don't think Aphra and 000 really fit into the larger narrative.
No, you're right. But I'm looking more. I'm looking more for cameos that are a little better than the cameo in Rogue One, where you saw
Dr. Ezebed.
Yeah,
and
a little better than that, but not much. But not much. Like I'm thinking, like to me personally, like I would love. And now they won't do it, but if you saw like an Obi-Wan in the background, like had just so when we watched it our 15th time, we're like, wait a minute, I think that's Obi-Wan sitting back there.
Yeah, see, when I say I think they're going to be in it, I think it may be more they'll be talked about.
Yeah.
So if we think about the characters who will be in it, you've got Mon Mothma. You have Bail Organa. Hopefully Smith shows up. And Saw Gerrera.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And all three of those had interactions with and relationships with the Jedi. So even if they refer to what it was like when the Jedi were more prevalent, or where the Jedi were generals of the clone army, I think there'll be those kind of references, but I don't necessarily think we're going to see a Jedi showing up swinging his or her laser sword around.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping that doesn't happen personally.
Yeah.
I forgot how shocking it was though when Andor killed the guy at the beginning.
My
I just
glove.
forgot how shocking that
Mm.
was. You know, when you first saw it.
So I was. I have to admit, I cheated on you guys this week and was listening to a different podcast.
Who'd you listen
And I was listening to the Sky Talkers.
to? Oh, okay. Yeah,
And they are one of the podcasts. It's two ladies, and I forget their names off the top of my head. They are podcasters that I listen to and am envious of. So their show has become so successful that they're invited by Lucasfilm to participate in roundtable interviews.
Yeah. Well,
And so they
Zoe got one of those. Got one of those her first year, but hasn't got one since.
yeah, and so they recently the at least the episode I listened to was a roundtable interview with Genevieve O'Reilly, Pedro Pascal, and two other of the actors from Rogue One. I didn't get to listen to the whole episode, and I'm just listening to this, and I'm amazed and impressed and envious, darn near jealous of them getting to do this sort of thing. And the things that I'm hearing about Andor are so exciting. The things I'm hearing about Andor are so cool. And I think one of the super duper wonderful things about this galaxy that George Lucas started all those years ago is it's so wide that there's so much room for so many stories, even in a short window of time. And so I think a lot of this will be the people on the ground. It will be the people that are impacted by the decisions that the empire makes, the decisions that the politicians make, the decisions that the people who are either trying to survive by being on the empire side or trying to survive by being on the rebellion side. And I think it will be a far different story than we're used to seeing.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, I just I don't know, just that scene when they were I with the chains and all the things getting shot and
Spoiler alert.
I know. Well, but no, but it was man, and that dialogue scene, which people have heard that because they just extend it. Because at first I was like, wait a minute, I already saw this on the internet when I first sat down, and then they played that whole thing, which was awesome.
And it absolutely positively looks gorgeous.
Yeah,
so it's a television show on a movie scale.
Oh yeah, well yeah. Yeah, when that Star Destroyer comes in the atmosphere on that one planet
with the super long trail. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I forgot how beautiful Rogue One was, because when that Star Destroyer is leaving Jeddah, and you see all those other things trying to catch up, that was just so cool.
Well, even Jeddah City by itself, Jeddah City to me was a wonderful example of what George started early on of trying to cram as much randomness in one block at a time.
Yep.
So there was the different pilgrims, there was the different aliens, the different vendor stalls and foods and clothing, all in that one narrow hallway. Yep. And then you also got to see, was it the Rings of Kafrine or something like that?
Oh yeah.
Where that's where Cassian shot the guy.
Yeah. That was neat. That was it. Just was. I forgot it started without a crawl, because it's been a while since I watched Rogue One. Like, I've watched it, but a lot of times I would fast forward on Disney Plus. I'd fast forward to the Battle of Scarif. Because I honestly, two of my favorite scenes in there is when the Hammerhead Corvettes that were stolen in Rebels.
Yep.
Smash that Star Destroyer. And when Vader's Star Destroyer comes in and all those ships going to hyperspace just smash right
into it.
Yeah. You know, I was like, that's like my. I mean, I like the hallway scene and all that, but I was like, the hallway scene was bugging me because when he met with Vader on the, and maybe just because I'm working on Vader now, when he met him on Mustafar, he didn't have his chest box and belt lights on, like they weren't on.
He had just come out of the back to bath. He didn't have time to turn them on.
But should like what was he? Why then? If they're not on, then why is he wearing them? You know, like oh, just
well, maybe they just had to cite. He had, because he just came out of the bath, so he had to. They had to warm up.
Firmware update. Yeah, no, that I mean, I knew why they were. The rumor had it in the hallway. He basically shut all his gear off and was holding his breath to get a cool entrance and stuff. But I was like, and Krennic, man, I'm liking Krennic more and more. I wouldn't mind seeing Krennic in Andor. But I don't know if that would really fit the storyline, other than if they just have a mini side plot. Because I personally think one of the side plots, hopefully, is what happens with the clones. Like I wouldn't be surprised if there's some sort of almost rebellion with the clones, and
I think they planted that seed in the Bad Batch.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also, I mean, don't forget, like, we know we're gonna get clones in some capacity.
Yeah, because they show them, But that's what I'm saying. Does the phasing of them out hurry up because of possible rebellion?
Well, I wonder with that idea of I wonder if what we see of the clones is just a small flashback from when Cassian was a kid,
6 years old.
Yeah, because he's been in this fight since he was 6.
Yeah, me and Zoe always say that when people talk about trooping, because that's when Zoe started trooping. I've been in this since I was 6 years old.
Well, I've managed to figure out how to. Whenever somebody talks about how long they've done anything, like if Heather and I are involved in a conversation and somebody talks about, well, I've been doing this for such and such. Heather will look at me and I will either say the line or I won't say the line, depending on the look I get.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I was looking through a lot of our old trooping pictures, and in between trooping pictures is like holidays and stuff like that. And I'm like, wow, there's a troop from 2007, and I still wear that shirt at Christmas time. I should probably get some new clothes.
One thing I will say that I find both interesting and annoying is already the show hasn't come out. There's I think some people have seen one episode of it.
Yeah.
Because they're lucky. And I'm not in that group. However, there are already people bashing it because of, like, for instance, in one of the more recent trailers, there's a blaster that resembles an AK-47.
Oh yeah, I know.
And they're like, "Oh my goodness, that's just lazy prop making," and I can't believe they would do that. I'm like, just let the show be what the show is. Like, just
if that's what tanks the show, a guy holding an AK-47, then we have way bigger problems than the AK-47. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm just making sure.
Speaking of inserting Star Wars lines in the conversation, I think we should talk about John's episode of the Beskar Bucket with his pops.
Yes. That is, first off, I realized I'm the exact age as John's dad. Because your dad's what, 54?
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm 54. So we're the same age.
For me, what's funny is, thanks to that podcast, I realized I'm double John's age. I just turned 46 this year.
No, so two things I realized. One, John, you and your dad need to take a pilgrimage to Jordan's store.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, with your dad's love for the toys, and he should listen to Ken's episodes, especially the Kenners guys stuff.
Episode 19.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me get a pen.
And I have some comments about your restoration of toys.
Okay.
Right? And you can tell me if this makes sense, because your dad made some really good points about, like if you buy a car and you restore it, it's okay. But if you buy a toy and you restore it, not so much. Right. I think part of this is, I used to be a big antique guy too, and a big comic book guy. I think part of it is like antique. Like if you have a toy Tonka truck, it's perfectly fine to restore it and people are happy. If you have a toy wagon and you restore it and people are happy. The second you start touching a toy, people go nuts. And I think it's because those Tonka toys and all that grew out of antique car people.
Thank you.
Where you have Star Wars toys grew out of comic book people. That kind of toy in comic books, you don't touch anything. You know what I mean? Like you don't restaple it and you don't like that. And I think it's just where it came from, more than anything. Though I think your dad should do some. You should. What I got from that show is two things. You should do some videos of your dad restoring them, but you should go through your collection one piece at a time and make a TikTok for each piece.
Yeah, that
he's
would be
23. By the time he's done, he'll be older than both of us combined.
Well, but I'm saying, like, if you just a TikTok showing the old Falcon and then showing one restored, like, to me, there's two really good TikToks.
Yeah, I mean, we've got quite a bit, honestly.
Yeah,
so
but you don't even know all that you have, at least according to your show.
Yeah,
we have one of those. Yes, we do.
Yeah.
One thing I love about listening to your show and Zoe's show is it's the kind of podcast that I will talk along with or talk along to.
Yes.
Like your dad had made a comment. I'm like, oh no, it's this thing. Like when you guys were talking about there weren't a lot of Phantom Menace toys. I'm like, what are you talking about? Not a lot of Phantom Menace toys. They had pod racers. And then when your dad started talking about some of the other random things that came out, like the Pez dispensers and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Man, he's talking my language.
Yeah, we deal in the mainstream for the most part with a handful of the obscure.
Now, did he have fun doing it? He seemed like he was having fun.
Yeah, I think once we got past that first minute or so of like, hey, we're recording this, I think he realized like, oh, this is just a conversation.
Because your next show with him, I want to hear his take on your Star Wars journey.
Yeah, and when we were driving to the Browns game, we were talking about that because he wants to do it again.
Nice.
So it's a matter of finding the time to do so. So
I still can't wait to you troop, because I still think once you troop and you open that world up to him, because that's one of those things you don't really understand until you're you're in the costume behind the scenes. It's right, Ken?
Especially if he's able to partake in the benefits and the bonuses that come with trooping.
Mm-hmm.
Either getting into an event early or having one of the celebrities pull you out of the crowd to get a picture with them, those kind of things.
Yeah, I think he's set time aside already for Steel City Con.
Nice.
So
I got my room. They still have not put up the discount code. So if that discount doesn't go, I don't know if I'm going to spend $900 for the weekend at Steel City.
Yeah, I didn't book my room for that exact reason. It's like, do I want to pay $900?
Yeah, well, I'll cancel but they just haven't put the code up yet. But
I think your dad peaked right at the very end when he zinged you with the "I am your father." Like it was literally and figuratively right at the end, and to me that was the icing on the cake or the cherry on top of all of that conversation to end there. Dunk.
Well, and I imagine getting your dad on one of Matt's sets if Matt starts filming some more stuff.
Oh, I know. God, he'll be a kid in a candy store.
Get him some pictures with Marty.
Mm-hmm. I need to set time aside to finally build my TK, so that way, if he's able to come, we can put him in your TK if it's still available.
Yeah, because I can only wear one.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, this is the best and worst time to build right now because it's not crazy hot out. But then everyone starts getting busy and like before we're going to blink and it's going to be Halloween. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, and I just need Vader done by December. That's all I want.
Yeah. Are you still planning on having it approved by December?
Oh, I don't care if it's approved. I'm going to take it and wear it. I'm not trooping. I'm just going to show up. I'm like, hey, I'm Darth Vader, man. And
Dad Vader.
and the guys from Star Killer love me, so I don't have to worry about that because I'll have 000, and I'll have and Zoe will be there. I don't know what costume she'll take, but I'm working on Vader and Ahsoka at the same time. So
now she's coming home from California.
she's done. She's done school on the 7th.
Oh,
So unless she has December 7th, unless she has a job, which cross my fingers, but then it's hunt for a job, and then that's on her what she wants to do, But
that'll be a heck of a turnaround, though. Coming, flying back from the West Coast, and then, or as Ken calls it, the left coast.
You know how me and Zoe roll. That's how we do things.
True.
Did you change your room into a something else yet?
Not yet. I can't go that far yet. Well, because the other thing is with the way a lot of the modern people that work for Lucasfilm, like the one Dan Brooks that came here he was one of their execs. He lives in like South Carolina. You know what I mean? They don't all live because it's just we don't live in that world where everyone has to sit in the same room in the same area. So, but yeah, she's just applying for jobs and working her internship and doing all her stuff. So we'll see. I badger her. Look, because I get all the I check out all the internships for Lucasfilm. I'm like, I just send them to her. Here you go. Check this one out. Check this one out. Check this one out.
Yeah, if I were in her position, I'd be shotgunning my resume everywhere.
Yeah, she does. She, and you should too, John. You are close to her position.
It's one of those things where I lack the bulk of the resume required.
I understand, but if anything, like magic, like you definitely know if you don't apply, you're not getting it. Right? That's 100%.
True.
You never know what they're looking for. Like they were like, well, look, this idiot has no credentials. But you know what we were thinking about? Blah blah blah. Like what's it hurt? That's. I mean, I'm looking at some of them and I'm like, I could probably do that.
Yeah, get out of teaching at, right in your prime.
I'm too. I'm too near the end to do that, I think. But I'm just saying for younger people, it's just keep your eyes open for stuff. You don't know what's going to happen. That's why I tell Zoe, like I'm telling her like this, like right now she's just doing her stuff and she's just applying to everything because, and meeting with people and talking with people but who knows? The problem is a lot of their some of their internships at Lucasfilm, you have to have graduated first. Which is kind of weird, but because Temple has the internship built into the program.
Right.
You never know.
Yeah, but I mean,
huh?
I was gonna say, hey, in 3 months, she'll be graduated.
Yeah.
And she'll get that position.
Yeah, we'll see. I sent one to Marty. There was a photographer. I was like, this is like right up Marty's alley.
See, that's when he needs to send his portfolio of all of the cosplay pictures he's taken over the years.
Dude, I've been with Marty where he's taken a picture with a cell phone while in Chewie controlling R2 with the other hand, and it looks better than any picture I could take. You could give me $1,000 camera, and I couldn't take a picture that way. Because he just gets it. He's like, you see him moving his hand a little bit, or he'll make you stand, and you feel like you're standing like this, and then you see the picture, and like, wow, So I've learned enough now which way to put the sun when I take pictures. That's what I've learned from Marty from the last 10 years. But besides that, I can't take a picture to save my life.
We got to get him on board to do some more photographs of us in costume.
He'll do a photo shoot. I mean, you know, he enjoys it. Like when that Cliff's place we discovered, and we couldn't park where we parked, so we had to lug our stuff almost a mile to take pictures, and then lug it back. And that was one of the best photo shoots we ever did. We did a second one, and we had a lot of whiny babies. So, you know, like, well, it's cold out. It's cold for my free pictures. Well, no crap. People wear long johns. You know?
Yeah.
So
there's no crying in Star Wars.
No.
There's no crying in baseball.
But I'm telling you, your dad and your show was good. That was home run.
Yeah, that's one of the few times I'll accept a compliment, because I was very proud of that one.
Yeah.
And it was just fun listening, really.
Yeah.
You know, just really, really fun listening to it.
Yeah, I thought, honest to God, like out of all the conversations we've had, I mean, I feel like that was probably one of the best dynamics we've had in a while.
Well, I liked it because everything he was saying, I went through. Like I didn't never had a Falcon when I was a kid or anything like that. But I remember all those time periods of you know, like him and I went through the same calendar of events, you know, growing up.
Yeah. Trust me, if it hadn't been for my aunt, he probably wouldn't have had a Falcon either.
Yeah.
Which once again, it was a fun story to hear. The fact that the Falcon was to make up for your aunt's birth.
Yeah.
Well, you know, that's a win-win for everybody. But I never saw a Falcon growing up.
Is her name Millie?
What's that?
Is your aunt's name Millie?
It is not, unfortunately. Should have been, but you know, Becky, I guess, works.
All right.
But yeah, I never saw a Falcon in the wild. The only big toy I ever saw in the wild was my one neighbor had the Death Star.
The wedge part of it?
The big whole thing, you know, the big tall one.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the only big one I ever saw. I know, you know, and I had a TIE fighter and a land speeder, and that was it.
See, I want to know who ended up getting the swing set from was it Return of the Jedi?
Yeah,
with the swing looked like a speeder bike. I want to know what kid got that. Because I think that was in the Sears catalog or something.
Yeah, well, we'll see, because remember back then you had the Sears exclusives too. Like the Droid Factory was that a Sears exclusive? Or was it the Cantina? Like they were like crappy ones, but like
no, I think the Droid Factory was,
yeah,
and yeah, and then they re-brought that back, and your dad was even talking about that in the late '90s, and when they made all those real tall action figures, when they made like the Tauntauns and all that, and if you wanted like Luke on a Tauntaun, you had to go to Walmart, and if you wanted Han on the Tauntaun, you had to go to Target, you know, and they made it a hunt.
And it still continues to this day.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I think, and I liked your Legos. The collector thing it's weird, because I still think kids drove the collecting, and people didn't realize it, because when you just make it for collectors, there's no emotion attached to it.
Right.
Well, then it turns into either a business or an investment.
Right.
Which, you know, when, you know, not to toot our horn, but when we were talking with the guys from Kenner, you know, they joked around and said that they used to be in the landfill business because they were designing and producing these toys that were inexpensive, that weren't very and like beautifully engineered, not like some of the things are now.
Right.
And they would just end up getting, you know, thrown away or lost. Like how many blasters or accessories ended up getting lost within the first 13 minutes of somebody opening it.
Yeah.
But now when you go to get a toy, you get a 6-inch Saw Gerrera for $40. And
you're not losing any of those pieces.
Yeah, you're not, because you're not taking any of those pieces out. You're leaving it in the fancy box, because even the paper on the box is more valuable than the original price of one of those figures were back in the 70s.
Well, and again, like when I see the old Tusken Raiders and stuff like that, it reminds me of playing with them. When I see the Clone Wars toys, it reminds me of the girls playing with them. Because to me, as much as I know, at my age, I should really look back at the original 12. The highlight of, to me, Star Wars toys was the Clone Wars era, because they were coming out with toys like left and right. You couldn't keep up. And if you bought 3, you put them together and it made a droid, so we bought them for the girls, and there'd be an episode, and then 2 weeks later that those toys would be out. Like I remember Goldie the droid, the R2, and and like Target, you could just like fill a cart every week with Target if you weren't careful.
Yeah, and even not just would they show up on screen, but they would. I remember some of them had little DVDs that had like part of an episode in them. There was the clones that had the brain sucking snake that turned them into zombies or whatever, and that came with a little DVD with with clips from the show.
Yeah, and then they had there for a while, Target was exclusive to any of the red clones, so you could only get Commander Fox at Target. So all the action figures were like $7, except for him. He was $14.99, and that was Safi's favorite one. Like she still has him. That was, and he was barely in it. He was barely in the show.
And one of the things I find interesting about Star Wars toys in general is the value that they've accumulated when the cost of the item is nowhere near the price people are willing to pay for it.
Right. And there's still a lot out there. Like those 70s. Now there's some rare ones, but if you even just watch any special on those Star Wars toys, they were pumping those things out,
You bet.
And you still come across people with piles of them. But
that's
now
why I don't understand the price of them now.
Yeah, well, it's just I think part of it is, I don't want to say it's laziness, but I think part of it is people don't want to hunt for them. Like because you have the internet now. So like I used to carry a little book about the size of an iPhone when I was a big comic book and toy guy in the 80s, and it was just handwritten. I had handwritten lists, and Missy and I'd be driving around. Hey, that looks like a flea market. And you'd go down your list, and you'd spend an afternoon, and people, they just don't want to do that. And everyone wants top dollar too. Except for apparently wherever Toga lives. Toga seems to find the people that are like, well, I have this giant suitcase full of stuff. I don't know what it is. Give me $10 for it. But
I will gladly sell it to you for $45.
That would be a good pilgrimage for you guys too, to Toga's house.
Yeah, I was telling him. I think we were talking about it on the show.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah. We've only had one encounter like that. It was that C-3PO we were talking about. Yeah, and like I said on the show, though, it's like everyone knows for the most part, everyone knows what they've got. They see the Star Wars logo and they think it's worth a fortune,
right?
Because of the internet now, because you could see what this rare Boba Fett figure that was never in real production, it went for $120,000.
Yeah, well, and then I know Steve Sansweet had a couple stolen from by a guy.
Yeah, from one of the volunteers.
Yeah. That's why you don't have all.
And what's even weirder about it, not only do the toys or the Star Wars specific memorabilia things, does the price go up on it because people, to your phrase, John, know what they have, but they'll take things that are adjacent to Star Wars and jack the prices up. So a Graflex, camera hilt, or do you remember in the Book of Boba Fett, there was when the Major Domo came out into the courtyard or whatever, into the street, and was reading off, Boba's messages? Yeah. That was an old electronic game. So the shell of that was an electronic game. I went on eBay that night looking for it, and they were already selling for $100 or more for a game that was made in the late 70s, early 80s.
The cameras in the Death Star that are those slide things.
Yeah, the slide viewers.
You couldn't give those away. even up until I would say the 90s, until people actually identified them as like you'd go to any flea market, anyone that had any kind of pictures, they had boxes that no one wanted them. And yeah, that's crazy. Like I was looking at Webley flare guns, and they were nice. They're nice brass, but that's what they use for the base of Boba Fett's rifle, the old one, and they were $400 or $500. And those things they're not rare, but you know. But now I think with some of that stuff, the plus to some of that stuff is 3D printing has kind of curtailed a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Because it used to be if you wanted a Vader saber, you had to get a Graflex or know someone with a machine shop that could cut you one.
Mm-hmm.
You know, now it's a STL away. So
looks like Ark has been doing some hunting of his own online.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm waiting for this message to come through.
Yeah, I mean, like Missy, I think it was Missy's niece or cousin. Missy's much younger than most of her, so this was a couple years ago, and her cousin was probably in her 60s. And they brought over a box of Star Wars figures. And it was the original 12, but no like double telescoping lightsaber. But there was both snaggletooth, short and small, and all this. And she asked me like, "What's it worth?" I said, "Well, these are probably worth something." You know, I said you should take because I'm not a figure guy. And she wanted me to buy them from her. And I told her, I said, "I'm not a figure guy." I said, "I could give you like $100 for them." I said, "But they're worth a lot more." And I think I offended her because I just like they were worth $100 to me. Like I would have probably one figure was probably worth more than that, but I don't collect figures. It's just not
well, I also think it's pretty assumptive just to bring stuff over and say, "Buy this from me."
Yeah. No, I think she honestly thought that it was going to pay like for her kids' college or something. Like because that's the other thing they have they'll see that $150,000 action figure because I dealt with that when I had my comic book store. Everybody would wanted to sell their comic books to me. Now back in the 90s when I had my comic book store, I was buying boxes of Star Wars stuff for like $20 because like I bought Ewok Village and Ewok Village, the Sandcrawler, the cardboard one, the stand up with the and I got Dagobah and a bunch of ships. I think I paid a guy $20 for, because it was just all jumbled. And I put them in my store. But back then I used to get $8 for a loose figure, 12 if they had their pistol. That was it.
Yeah. Now you can't find them for that cheap unless they're destroyed.
Yeah. I just right at the beginning of the pandemic, I got some good prices on a few things. But again, I don't want. I need big stuff. I'm getting ready to finish this archway, and I'm gonna have to get rid of a lot of little stuff. I don't even know if I can keep all my popcorn buckets. Where to put them?
What a shame.
So here's a project that I've been toying around with, and I have no idea how to take it from the idea in my head and bring it out into the real world. So
this is our project segment. That's what can we call this? What do we call this?
This one we didn't have one for.
I know. This is our project segment. Okay. What is it?
Project Playground.
Yeah.
So do you remember the carrying cases? There was the Darth Vader shoulders and head and the C-3PO shoulders and head, and they were built for the 3 3/4-inch figures.
Yep.
So I've had this. I have notes. I even think I went so far as to do the measurements of it. Is I want to make half of it large enough that can be mounted on the wall and will hold the same number of 6-inch figures.
So you want to make it'll be twice as big.
Yeah.
Roughly.
Yeah. Well, see, is there any STL files of that?
You're talking to a guy who doesn't have a 3D printer, my friend.
Give me 2 minutes. I'll figure it out.
Well, because when Ken, I used to have the Vader and both C-3POs. I had the gold one and the yellow one. And so my plan at my old house, I had a Star Wars room. This was in the 90s. I was going to build bookshelves that were the exact width of each one, and one would be painted black, one would be painted gold, and one would be painted yellow, and then make the shelving big enough to hold the regular, the Power of the Force was just coming out, or the the bulky ones. I was going to do that. I mean, it would have to, it wouldn't be doubled. It would be like 1.8% or something like that, right? 6 is it 3? Is it 3 3/4 inch? So it'd be 3.75 equals 6. So it'd be 3.75 divided by 6 would be your scale factor. Right?
Well, it'd be bigger than that because the rectangles.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it would be the square factor.
Well, wait a minute. So how big are the rectangles for?
I don't have. Yeah,
they're probably like 4 inches, maybe, right?
Yeah, because I thought IG-88 was a little bit taller than 3
Okay, so
3/4.
if they're 4 inches, so just say the other ones are 7, right? So then it would be no, that can't be right. 4 times x would equal 7. Divide both sides by 7.
I forgot you were a math teacher.
Yeah, you should have seen. Let me see.
Want to do my taxes?
No, I do not. I like algebra and trig and Google and Excel spreadsheets. That's my math.
Because I was even thinking about taking that same idea and using other silhouettes. So using Princess Leia's silhouette to hold all of the lady characters that I have, and either Boba Fett or Jango Fett, and holding all the bounty hunters.
So I know what you could do, Ken. I have the perfect idea. You would have to get a projector, right?
Well, that part. Well, see, I have the drawing.
Yeah.
I just don't know how to take it from that state into physical reality.
Well, you see, I would make a wooden one first, like a positive of it, and then you would make a mold of that, and you could slush cast. So you have your silhouette of Princess Leia, and you build it out of wood, smooth it with putty, make it glass smooth. You would use, if you knew anything with a router or something, to route out the details that you want, and you make that block of wood, and you clean it up with putty and spray it with like clear coat so it's like glass smooth. And then you just lay it on the table, and you do a silicone mold, or if you just want to make one, do a wax mold. Make a wax mold, like a solid wax mold, put something like a mother mold, and then you would just slush it once and tear the mold off. Do a one-time mold.
Gotcha.
If you do a silicone mold, it's going to cost you like $200. I don't know if that's worth it, but if you can get some good wax and something to just get you through it, so you can get some resin in there, that would be my thoughts.
Yeah, that could work. Because I mean, the back is easy because that's just literally the silhouette. I'm worried about making the wall that goes around.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you made it out of wood, then that would be your poured wall.
Yeah.
Unless they make an STL. So, because I heard John and his dad talking about AT-ATs, and I was sitting there thinking, I wonder how big I would have to print an AT-AT to make it actual scale for the 3 3/4 inch figures. So when I did the math, it came out to be like 46 inches tall at its tallest point. That's how tall the AT-AT would be, roughly, to be the right scale for the 3 3/4 figures.
Jesus,
and it'd be about 9, huh?
Jesus,
that's big.
That's
massive. But that would be a cool print, wouldn't it?
That would be. I want to make. There are files for a 1-to-1 Republic gunship for the Black Series figures that I really would love to do.
Wow.
Yeah, once you find the multiplier in the smart or in the 3D printing files, it's just simple, just cut. Because the AT-AT wouldn't be, to make a 4-foot AT-AT, other than the body, there's not much to print. It'd just be the legs.
Yeah.
You know, it probably you could probably cut the body in 3 pieces and put on a print bed. But imagine 4 foot. The back would be 4 foot tall, and then you'd hang a Luke from it with a string. That'd be like the best art piece ever. That'd be a good Father's Day gift. Start printing that for your dad.
Well, if he didn't work directly next to my 3D printers,
Yeah,
He wouldn't know what you're printing.
he would just slice it in weird pieces.
he would see because I mean, he said it. I mean, the AT-AT's his favorite vehicle. If I were to print even say because the legs are in 2 pieces, then obviously a joint in the middle. If I were to print one leg, he'd be like, "Are you printing an AT-AT?" 100%, I guarantee it. If any part, unless maybe some like the greebly bits, like on the back.
Yeah.
Hell, I think I could even print the neck, and he'd be like, it'd just be a ribbed O, and he'd be like, "Is that an AT-AT?" So
Mind your business.
But that would be
nothing to see here.
That would be a good print. Because I remember when I looked for the 6-inch, it was under 9 feet tall or something like that.
Oh my god!
And I have somewhere written down the scale for a Falcon for 6-inch, and it was ridiculous. Like it wouldn't fit in any room in my house. But that would be cool.
An AT-AT would be cool. I still want a 1-to-1 X-wing.
You mean your size X-wing?
Well, of course, I'd love that. Granted, there's one 20 minutes down the road.
You mean X-wing for the figure?
Yeah, a 6-inch X-wing would be awesome.
Say that again out loud.
There's a life-size X-wing like 20 minutes down the road from me.
How many episodes have we had and you've never mentioned that?
I've mentioned it before because we talked. I remember I said there's nothing to do in Ohio.
I think you did mention it.
Yeah, well, you haven't mentioned it tonight. This is the first time you mentioned it tonight.
I knew about that, and I didn't stop on my way to I didn't stop on my way to California that time.
Yeah, it's called Mike's Place. Actually, a really good restaurant, believe it or not. But obviously, the main attraction is the. It's not an X-wing. It's whatever adjacent would be. Well, obviously, Lucasfilm would really hammer down on that one.
I sent you guys the link to Joe McCullough's sale.
Well, did you saw the link that I sent you about McDowell's, didn't you?
Oh yeah. Well, is that Joe? Is that Joe?
Yes.
Yeah. Because that's why he's getting rid of his stuff, because he did a Star Wars pop up for a while, and he did a Simpsons pop up. Like, I think that's what he does for a living now.
Well, the Simpsons pop up is going on. It went on this summer. It was at Wildwood.
Yeah, but I'm saying at
the Wildwood Boardwalk.
But he has an interior of a Falcon, for sale. I'm thinking of going.
The Condor. He has an interior of the Condor.
Yeah.
The pigeon. It's the lunar pigeon.
I'm thinking of going to that sale, but I don't know if I want to, because I don't really have the money to spend, and you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to talk myself into buying. I don't need any more molds in my garage, and I don't need any more anything. And I'm torn between if I want to go or not go. So.
Yeah, I need a project like no tomorrow. I need something to take my mind off of real life.
I don't know. You got a stormtrooper though.
I know.
Echo. What about Echo? You were going to help me with Echo,
right? Oh yeah, I was. I'm sorry, my mind is shot. Because just
I have to get that droid spike from you.
That's true. I gotta do. All right. I gotta make a note.
Yeah, I'm like I said, I would get Vader done. I still have the clone. I gotta get him done. Which honestly, I looked at the clone Sunday.
Did we just take a detour into Costume Corner?
Yeah, this is Costume Corner now.
Yeah.
Costume Corner. I looked at the clone, and he has foam in it, for padding. And I've decided I'm cutting all his foam out because he has I don't know. I don't need something that's going to soak up sweat. I need the foam that doesn't soak up sweat.
Well, also that stuff works as a huge insulator.
Yeah. Well, see, the armor you have to put some places, but yeah, he just but his everything else is okay. Like I'm just going to hit the whole thing with gray primer, and then I think I'm going to paint. I was going to paint it white and then do all the rust details, taping it off, but I think I'm going to do it the opposite. I think I'm going to paint most of the suit the rust color, tape it off, and paint it the secondary coat white, just to see how it looks. Might make the white look a little deeper, or I mean, just have to spray a hell of a lot more white on it.
Hey, I mean, look, offer still stands. If you're buried in Vader, the Falcon, Ahsoka, and you can't do the clone, I will be graciously willing to take it off your hands at any point in time.
I just watched that episode with Keeley on it, and it made me want to do Keeley.
You should have watched Rogue One again. Made you want to finish Vader more.
Oh, I did, but that's not the same Vader. It's a different suit. I'm doing
right.
Like,
you're doing Empire, right?
I was looking at it, I was like, well, that's not the same, and that's not the same. So
I look, I'm going to say this, and it's going to sound bad, but you'll understand. That is the only reason I ever regret meeting you, is because I do the exact same thing where it's like, that's different. That's wrong.
Yeah, you're sitting at the screen going, wait a minute.
Well, again, when we went to when they had those props displayed in Anaheim, if you could have just said freeze, you literally could have picked out what costuming group people were from, because all the 501st guys, the camera was like 3 inches from the prop taking a picture of stuff, and the only guys you could tell the Mando mercs were just kind of standing back, like taking the pic, because the Mando mercs don't seem to get flustered with anything. They're just like, we'll just customize it.
Yeah, we'll call it our own thing. It's an OC. Yeah.
But
I do find it interesting though that the other groups, Rebel Legion and the 501st, are picking up on proving Mandos into their ranks.
Yeah, well, so years ago, they tried to blend all the groups together, right? And there was a lot of infighting about that, which and then they tried to do a council, like they wanted to have like a council that had a representative from each one of the major groups, and then that fell apart because at the time the people in the 501st were like, well, we're better,
we should get 2 votes.
Yeah, so it was like they were trying to have like the Missouri Compromise or something of
the Electoral College of the costuming groups.
Yeah, so but I mean and I like it that they're separate. Personally, I do think it's odd, like as much as like I feel letting certain people in certain groups in certain costumes is kind of a cop-out. And I understand there's crossovers. Like in the Rebel Legion, there's clones in the Rebel Legion, and there's clones in the Empire. I completely understand that because, I mean, it seems weird, but when they start doing the Mandos, I don't know. I just think they should let the Mandos have their glory with Book of Boba Fett and
yeah, I don't know. It may not be widely accepted or appreciated, but I think it's just the 501st wanting to enjoy some of that publicity.
Well, and the other thing is, the only thing that I honestly might be something that people might want to think about. Maybe the group stays separate, but maybe the CRLs become like
consistent,
because that's I mean that's what it boils down to. But and I don't think all the 501st guys are like that. Like I know the CO, he's from Jersey. He's from your neck of the woods. Justin Solenfeld, he's not that way. He's he just likes the costuming groups in general, and I know the Mercs I think the Mercs are having a headache with someone that doesn't have a T-visor or something.
Not someone that doesn't have a T-visor. So there was a maker of helmets who made his helmet look like a skull,
mm-hmm.
and it it took up a big portion of the vertical piece of the T-visor. It became very popular. It was,
Yeah.
I think, called the executioner style.
Executioner. Yep.
And so now there's actually CRL saying that you have to have, I think it's either 3/4 or 2/3 of the vertical piece of the T-visor as a T-visor and can't be filled by other things,
Right.
which has caused a headache for a lot of people who got approved before that rule got implemented.
Yeah.
Because some people had like pilot costumes where they had a rebreather on the bottom, and it
Yeah.
took up a portion of the T visor, and all those people that had executioner style helmets that were approved, and so sometimes it can get a little wacky with the costume stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's where it was a little, it was a little weird. And I know, like with the 501st, we had a group called Imperial Outlanders. Have you ever heard of them?
I believe so.
So they were like a bunch of disgruntled 501st people that started their own group, but
what was Project Mayhem then?
No, Project Mayhem was in-house. Project Mayhem was in-house.
Okay.
So now we're moving from costume corner to costume politics.
Costume politics.
No, so the Imperial Outlanders was just like a group of. It was basically a group of people who either they had custom costumes. So if I wanted to be like Captain Billy Bob Stormtrooper and I have a black pauldron and wear sneakers, then I can be in their group. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, you had to still be in the Star Wars universe. You couldn't have sneakers. But if I wanted to, like, I'd make up a character similar to what the Mercs do. But the majority of them were people that either couldn't get in the 501st due to standards, which, you and I both have talked about this in length. It is frustrating when you're trying to get in, but they started a group. And I think it's still around a little bit, but it was mainly just a bunch of disgruntled people. And then the Mercs, I think there was a group of people trying to do that with the Mercs. They were trying to make
just recently, within the last month.
Yeah, trying to make a secondary group, which I think, again, I'm a true believer in why you do something. And if you start a group out of hatred and distrust and it can't grow positively. To me personally, because if that's what your common denominator is going to be. When everything's quiet, they're not going to talk about their costumes and this and that. They're going to talk about, oh, I hate this group because they did this to me. And then that just doesn't, you can only put up with that for so long.
Yeah, before that group has a fractured group that does something.
Well, there was a comic book called Junior Jackalope, and it was about these animals that were intelligent. And they wanted to take over the world and save the world. And they wanted rights and stuff like that. And so they finally got all their rights and they, overthrew man. And there was these little bugs that started saying, hey, we want to be treated better. And it ended with one of those guys squishing it. You know what I mean? Because there's, but the Outlanders were, I think they're just, I don't know. I understand all the different groups, but I think, especially nowadays, I think the main groups, you don't need any more. You just need good people in them, And Project Mayhem was in 501st. It was just a bunch of people that were against diversity, was against it was just they were the best way to put it is, not to be overly political, but if you take the extreme MAGA people, they would be Project Mayhem people. Like when the 501st was trying to do equality and like do some rainbow flag, they were having fits about that. And we had a woman CO, and they ran that poor woman through the coals, and they wound up like getting her. They went behind her back and got her kicked out or something like that, or suspended. It was just not a fun time. And then I got a bunch of the Project Mayhem people mad at me because I went on a little bit of a rant. I said I will not troop with anyone I find out was in Project Mayhem, and our CO and someone else was it. They were members of Project Mayhem at the time, so that didn't go over too well. But there's still remnants of that. But I think overall the costuming groups just go through growing pains, and I think the 501st for the longest time was the top dog, but not anymore.
Well, I think especially when there's the increase in quality and skill of the costumers, and to your point earlier about the 3D printers, now they have access to tools that aid in the creation of.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
3D printers don't do all of the work of putting a costume together.
Right. But you're not beholden. Before printers, we were all beholden to about 5 or 6 guys making armor in the world.
Yeah, or you were like with the Mercs, you were making it yourself.
Yeah.
With a heat gun and 6-inch or 6 millimeter.
Yeah.
Expanded.
Oh man, I hate that 6 millimeter. I don't know how you guys use that. I hate that 6 millimeter stuff. I always get bubbles in it.
I use it sparingly and take my time.
So 3D printing I think has really helped out, and I think Lucasfilm is embracing the good groups, and that's where I will always, as long as I can, be part of the 501st and try to be a positive light for all that, because that's what's going to, as long as we try to keep our good groups as good as they can, that's what's going to get the guys in California to be on stage, and that's what's going to get all these different perks. Not that we do it for the perks, but the perks are nice.
Yeah, you bet. Because it's nice to know that you're seen. It's nice to know that there's a shared appreciation for the effort that goes into it.
Yep.
And this might be the moment where we transition into troop time. Because just this past weekend I was at the Shoretown Blue Claws, or the New Jersey Blue Claws.
Okay.
They're a minor league baseball team, and they had a Star Wars night that I was lucky enough to be able to troop at. And it was 2 Mando Mercs from the New Jersey group, myself and another Merc, 1 gentleman from the 2 gentlemen from the 501st. Mm-hmm. Somebody dressed as Kylo Ren and the TK. 1 lady from the Rebel Legion dressed as Princess Leia, and everybody else there was in the Saber Guild.
Yeah.
And it was probably one of my most fun times trooping.
Nice. Yeah, it is. I think all of the groups are best when there's all the groups there. Don't you think? Like when you have all those people and you throw in some droids, man, you can't get
and I think one of the other things that helped make this event cool for me, so the guy I troop with from the Mercs used to be in the Saber Guild. Mm-hmm. So he knew a lot of the people that were there from the Saber Guild. And we didn't have a handler. We didn't have a Mercs handler.
Right.
The folks who were handling the Saber Guild would constantly and consistently check on us.
Right.
Make sure our costumes are okay. Ask if we want water. Ask if we need anything. They were just as attentive to us, the Mercs, as they were to the other groups. Because I've been to some events where you could draw a line right down the hallway and like don't cross this line because you're not in our group.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that night, everyone was taking pictures with everyone, and fans were getting in all the pictures with everyone, and it was a Star Wars Group 1, not Star Wars Groups 4.
Yeah, no, and that's the best troops, and we, like, I trooped in Maryland this summer with and what's nice when I troop in Maryland, I don't even know who's with who. There was Mercs there, and there was a bunch, and we just trooped, and we had handlers and stuff like that, and Eastern PA, they just got to fix what they do, because we have a 1-page document on what the handlers are supposed to do. And when they came out with that, Missy's like, I'm out. I'm done. She said, I don't need some. She said, I enjoy doing it and it's fun, but she says, I don't need some kid telling me that I didn't take enough pictures or, She's like, yeah, I'm done.
Yeah, as soon as you put a like a mandate, so to speak, for lack of a better term, on something like that, that's when you lose people. Because like I'm sorry, I just kind of jumped in the conversation here.
No, I mean, and it doesn't happen often because most adults, I think when we troop, people don't. A lot of people don't understand that we're professional, meaning we act professional. It doesn't mean we do it for a living. We don't get paid for it, but it doesn't take much effort to just be professional in what we do. And I would say more times than not, the when you have good handlers, they're professional. You know, like my wife is an extremely shy person, but when we used to troop, if anyone needed help with a costume, she would be right there to help them. You know, I mean, she didn't even know Dan, and she started learning how to suit Dan up before we even knew Dan. You know, and that's a tough costume to not be mildly intimate with someone when you're putting it on.
Well, the one thing I do find interesting, you were talking about perks. One of the perks that sometimes comes with being in these groups is you're able to go to these events for nothing. Like you don't have to pay. You don't always have to pay for a ticket to get in on the event. And one of the things I noticed in some past events is some of the people would agree to troop or sign up to troop just so that they could get the badge in, and then once they got in, you never saw them.
Yeah, well, and see that's my, and maybe it's because I work in a profession where we have to make blanket rules, you know, as so not to hurt people's feelings. To me, and I've seen it in our group, if someone does that, they don't go to that person and say, "Hey, you shouldn't have done that." We'll have posted up on the board, new rule, you must check in. Like, really? You know, and because
passive aggressive baloney.
Well, because one of the things that it lost me my election when I ran, but one of my things were there was a big stink about conventions, and when I was XO, and then when I ran for CO, they said, well, what about these big conventions? I said, look, I trust people to do the right thing. I said, if you say make people do a schedule to troop for 4 hours, they will troop for 4 hours. If you say we need help, we need to troop all day, those people will troop all day. You know, there'll be some that don't, but then, you know what I mean? Like I just think for most of us, we do this to get away from our jobs and then when you start piling all this stuff on, instead of just individually, if you have a person who shows up consistently and doesn't do it, then you just professionally go to them and say, look, you know what you're doing. You don't have to call them out in public. You don't, you know, and if someone doesn't feel comfortable doing that, then they shouldn't be in a position where they might have to do that. You know, and that's what I see happening with most of the other groups. And that's what used to happen with our group. Someone would do something wrong, maybe after dinner, they'd be like, hey, you know, make sure, and then you're good to go. And after I know it's COVID too, but I do miss the after trooping element of trooping, because it seems like everyone has to go somewhere.
Well, I think when we filmed the fan film, when we worked on that was a wonderful example of the breaking bread. I mean, you know, John, when we sat at that one end of the table and just had great conversation for a good couple hours, you know, with folks that we don't get to see every day, and just it was wonderful.
Yeah, we trooped my first event with the girls. We trooped a 2-hour Lou Gehrig's disease event for the families of victims of Lou Gehrig's disease. It was a 2-hour troop. We sat in a Dave and Buster's for like 4 hours after, you know, just talking. So I can't wait till John gets his first troop in.
Yeah, I know. New job has made that slightly difficult.
That's all right. That's all right.
But can't you just go wearing the Kylo Ren costume to work? It's in a dark theater.
God, if only.
You don't have to wear the mask.
Now, yeah. Well, you know, you'll figure it out. You'll get it there. I just can't wait till your first one.
Yeah, I'm gonna get something in. I might troop Steel City.
Yeah, that's cool.
Just, you know, because I don't know if I'm gonna do Friday, Saturday, Sunday or not.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, just Zach is a good guy. And what's nice when you troop Steel City, you have to buy your tickets anyway, so they're not like crazy about, but you can man the table, and they need people like you manning the table, because too many of these Star Wars groups, they put the wrong people at the table that don't know how to talk to people. I mean, I'm not. We're all a little bit of introvert to a certain point, but you have to sell it,
Right. Yeah, it's I was thinking if I do go Friday, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'll try and troop on Friday. That way, because I know you're only gonna go Saturday, Sunday, right?
Well, it depends. If depending on when Zoe comes home, I might just use picking her up as my personal day, and then just like get there Friday. So
Gotcha. Moving parts. We still got 3 months.
I've realized that I've worked 20 years and I have so many sick days and personal days saved up that, and they don't say, hey, thanks for not using any of these, So I just got to see what's happening. My main thing with my personal days is I got to see what's happening with London. So,
did you ever submit the Inflatable Falcon?
Not yet. It's not up yet.
Oh, okay.
I will.
Yeah, we need to do all of our shows.
Well, we at the very least, I think Ken and I can probably squeeze it into one of these Oaks events.
Yeah.
Because they're just like Steel City has no space. The Oaks has
an abundance of.
Yeah, they're like free parking, and they don't even they have rooms like humongous. Like you could fit like 4 Steel Cities in it. But I don't know what. Huh?
Where's
Oaks
this
is right
Pennsylvania?
north of PA.
North of Philadelphia.
Yeah, I mean Philadelphia. Sorry. Yeah, it's probably like another hour past my house, probably, on the way you would travel.
I mean, if it's a convention, I'll make the trip. You don't need to exclude me because of my geographical location.
No, I know. It's on my list of things to do. School is taking precedence for but that would be a good. And they used to do, like Zoe had like a 9 o'clock panel at one time at one of those cons. I don't think it was it wasn't Keystone, whatever one of those cons. And she had a couple drunk people in the audience, which was kind of funny.
At 9 a.m.
No, 9 p.m.
Oh, 9. Sorry. I'm sorry.
It was like they because the con ran till like 11 o'clock or something like that. So,
I would like to throw this out there. If we ever have a panel where we do the Inflatable Falcon live, I vote that we do it in costume.
Oh yeah,
I think that would add. Well, you wouldn't be able to sit down, or if you do Vader.
Yeah, if I can sit in Vader.
Yeah.
Well, if I'm sitting down, I can remove my cod piece. It's not like they're going to look under the table to check out my stuff.
I can take the cod piece. It would look a little weird though.
Yeah, but now if you're seated, it won't look weird.
That's true.
Yeah. See, I was thinking you're TK. That's
I can finagle a possible sit in my Sand Trooper.
Yeah, but you wouldn't want to sit that way for 45 minutes of a panel.
Right.
I'll just stand off to the side. I'll be like I'll be like the
MC,
the moderator.
MC. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm all on board for if we're able to snag a
well,
panel.
At the very least, we have to do something in the lobby at Steel City.
Ken, are you still trying to get the workaround to go?
Yeah, I got to figure it out. Yeah.
So,
because there's going to be from what I remember, there's going to be some really cool guests there that weekend.
Yeah. Well, what's nice about Steel City is though, they get some guests that you think you don't really give a shit about, and then when you meet them, like, hey, yeah, that's a pretty cool guest. You know what I mean?
Sean Astin will be there.
Yeah.
Elijah Wood will be there.
Yeah. Well, I think all the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit guys are going to be coming out of the woodwork for this because of this TV show, even though they're not necessarily attached to it. But I think it's going to be like their time to shine.
Oh, yeah. Elijah Wood's going to be there.
Yeah.
Giancarlo Esposito is going to be there. Moff Gideon.
Eduardo Franco.
I don't do autographs, but I might bring my Darksaber.
Oh, yeah. No, see, what you do is what you got to do is he doesn't have a helmet, does he?
Mm-mm.
So you got to get on that and work on make another Mando helmet, make it perfect and pristine, and give it to him. You have till now to December.
No. Oh, if I only needed to find a project to do.
I know. Well, you were just asking. You were just asking for a project.
That's a good one. Oh, let's see pricing and schedule. Wow. Okay, so you know how they do like what is X insert celebrity name here? Like what have they been in? Giancarlo Esposito. Has appeared in Breaking Bad, The Usual Suspects.
They don't have Mandalorian?
Nope, no mention of Star Wars.
Well, I wonder. So I know when I talked to the guy who plays that one bounty hunter,
Dominic Pace.
Dominic Pace. When I talked to Dominic Pace when we were down in Maryland, and he was saying like he had to get approval for Lucasfilm to do conventions, promote. You know what I mean? Like to use the photographs of the costume and all that. There's a process. Because I know, because I know he had a banner that wasn't Lucasfilm approved. So when we were taking pictures, he was like, "Okay, just make sure that banner's not in the picture." You know what I mean? But you know, dude, yeah,
I actually my very first troop event was with him.
Yeah, he's such a nice guy.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
We ran into him in costume at Celebration and didn't realize who it was and took a picture with him and Zoe. I just thought someone was dressed up as
Gecko.
And after when we were walking away, someone said, "Hey, Dominic," and he was talking. I was like, "Shit, that was, Dominic Pace." Yeah, because I got a free autograph because I'm not an autograph guy either. But he when we trooped him, and he's like cheap. He's like $20 or 20. He might be more now. But Zoe interviewed him when he first started doing his and he basically said, "I'm just going to do it to pay for my kids' college."
Yeah, that's a good way to do it.
And like Chris Bartlett, have you ever gone on tk409.com? That's his website. That's where I bought my Jawa robes. That's Chris Bartlett.
Heather just said she's interested in going to Steel City with us.
Nice.
So it looks like we have to go now.
So I still recommend if you can get the DoubleTree, get the DoubleTree. Get the DoubleTree if you can. You can go to and then they have you're right there at the mall from one of the zombie films. Whatever, Dawn of the Dead is that, or whatever what was the mall?
I think that was Dawn of the Dead.
Dawn of the Dead. It's right there, Monroeville Mall. They have their theme of their laser tag is zombies or something like that in the arcade. It's not.
We did a whole entire trip to Atlanta to go to some of the sets for The Walking Dead.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, I taught with a girl whose neighbor kid played whatever the girl when she was first born. They had twins playing her when she was little, the baby.
Oh, okay.
So, I don't know, because she lived down there, and she said you'd just be driving to work and you look and there'd be like a camera crew and a zombie walking across the field. She said you just kind of got used to it after a while.
That's funny. I just said the Facebook Live comments aren't coming through.
Oh, let me see. Yeah, they never come through. I don't know why. I have it turned on. Let me see if I can get to it. I think it worked at one time, and then it. I don't know. We're not professional here. I'm sorry. Here we go. I wonder if it's because it posts them up. I don't know.
So I'm looking at this the TK409.com. I'm looking at his FET stuff.
Yeah. Now this is old. Some of his stuff's old, but he started that when he was just a normal trooper like us. He used to do 3PO for Lucasfilm for a while, but he literally is just one like us.
Yeah, I want to know why some of this stuff is so cheap.
Well, I don't know if his price. I don't know if that site's been updated.
Okay. So I was gonna say because a canvas Empire Strikes Back Boba Fett cape is $30.
Yeah, that's probably. I mean, you can post up and see if they'll sell it to you. See what you know.
Yeah, and
If
like
the site was hosted in Pennsylvania, he would have to sell it to you at that price.
yeah,
Post it up.
but like even the vest is only 75, and you can't find
that has. You'd have to go. That can't be updated.
Yeah.
But that's where I got the Jawa robes. That's how I found out about them in 06. I bought them in 06 when I ordered them.
The Jawa page is down.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Interesting. But well, do we have another segment left?
All right. Let's see. We did costumes. We did. Well.
Oh, I forgot to tell you the coolest parts of trooping at that baseball game.
Yes.
Right.
So, other than the pictures with all sorts of different fans and stuff, they had the other Mando and I, Coda. We got to go out on the field during the eyeball race. Where the eyeballs run from the first baseline all the way around to the third baseline.
Yeah.
And we also got to be the ones who helped throw out hot dogs and T-shirts to people.
Nice.
It was the funniest thing.
Is this minor league baseball?
Yeah, minor league baseball. Yeah.
Okay.
The Blue Claws.
See, it's weird. It's weird Lucasfilm's rules on all that stuff. Because I used to, when I was the XO, I had to read all those stupid rules. But they're not allowed to make you do anything. You know, like, and they're not allowed to promote, like, even if, like, we're not allowed to throw out the first pitch, is what I remember. But, like, they're also not allowed to promote that we're doing things. We can still do them, but they can't, come see Mandalorians, like, run the bases. They can't do that. You can still run the bases if you want. It's just, it's weird, the Lucasfilm agreement with those minor league teams, you know.
Yeah, I don't think we were advertised other than it was Star Wars night.
Yeah, I think and I think they're not allowed to advertise our groups. And I don't know why that is, but
yeah, I don't know if they advertised our groups or just advertised Star Wars night.
Well, it's because the minor leagues are called open invite, right? So if you have an open invite, that means all Star Wars groups are invited. Now they can limit due to space or something like that. But if we decided, us three, we were going to start our own Star Wars group called the Inflatable Falcon, and we wrote into, I forget the guy's name, and we got put on that list, we would get our own personal invite. And so say you wanted to show up, Ken, in a non-approved costume of anything, like a string mask and a whatever, if you're in one of those groups, you could go. Because when Disney took over, and it was a very minor, there was a lot of vocal people saying, well, the 501st and the Rebel Legion are just elitist fools and they won't let everyone in. So Lucasfilm was like, look, we don't want to deal with this nonsense. Open invite to all the groups, you know, make yourself a group and go knock yourself out. So, but most of the time it's just the big, I guess it's the big three, because Droid Builders they get their own invite. And Saber Guilds, well, Jersey has a good Saber Guild. Pennsylvania, we're just starting one. I don't know if there's one in Ohio.
The Pennsylvania one is an offshoot of the New Jersey one, I think.
Yes.
Some of the people moved to Philly or something like that.
Yeah. So the Pennsylvania one years ago, I want to say 2008, we had a thing called Harrisburg Jedi. There was no Saber Guild or anything like that. But they had a bunch of, like, they didn't have standards and they had some weird stuff. And then that's always been a battle in the central PA, is that those old Harrisburg Jedi and the Saber Guild. It's always been like a and the open invite hasn't helped them at all.
They should address that by trial by combat.
Yeah. Well, there is a group in Pennsylvania that does Jedi combat. Now, I don't think Lucasfilm ever approves any of those, because they actually, I went to one of their things and you put on like one of those foam suits like what that attackers wear, and you have a lightsaber, but it has a heavier blade on it, and there's rules. There's like a referee. It's almost like a karate match, and you're fighting, and then when you touch someone, the ref's like, oh, ow. You know what I mean? It's an actual competition.
Like a LARP battle royale.
Yeah, it's like a LARPing, you know, because they tried to get me to. I was like, you know what? I don't want to be hit with a stick, you know.
Hey, look, I'm going to interject real quick. Don't knock it till you try it. It's actually quite fun.
What, LARPing?
Yes.
No, I don't mind LARPing. I don't want to be hit with a Star Wars. I think LARPing is one of the coolest things. You know, my generation, we had to hide even playing D&D, or we'd get beat up. It wasn't called LARPing. It was called getting the shit beat out of you if you played D&D. You know, it's called running. But no, LARPing to me seems really cool. But the wearing a foam suit and hitting each other with Jedi things with a referee, that doesn't seem fun to me.
Yeah.
Because it literally looked like fencing. Really, it looked like Star Wars fencing
or kendo.
And they were doing it in 90-degree heat, and they were sharing these big. This was pre-COVID. They were sharing these big foam suits that were just dripping with sweat. And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. At least in my suit, I know where my sweat came from. You know, so
yeah, I'm out on that one.
Yeah. Well, they did at the Renaissance Fair. They had the girls did it when they were little. You would have a sword, and they would put balloons on your shoulders and your head, and you had to pop your opponents. You had like a armor on, and I have a picture somewhere of Zoe and playing it. So, you know.
Quick aside here that I didn't have a chance to bring up earlier, because we were talking about the big three, the Mando Mercs, the Rebel Legion, and 501st, and how they're separate for their own reasons.
Yeah,
the good old Papa Scalise story here. He didn't realize that they were three separate groups. He just thought it was all one conglomerate, because he was like, well, what if I wanted to do like a Han Solo? I'm like, well, you wouldn't be able to join the 501st. He's like, well, why not? You know, it's a Star Wars costume. I said, well, because you'd be in the Rebel Legion. And he's like, well, you know, then what's the point? I'm like, well, because they, you know, the 501st whole thing is bad guys doing good. So it's all just bad guy costumes. And it took probably 15 minutes of him throwing out an example in me telling him where that would go.
Your dad would enjoy just flipping through the CRLs, I bet.
100%. He would.
I think he'd like the pictures, detail. But I don't think he'd like the rigmarole of wait a minute.
Well, and that's where, though, if you look at the CRLs, if you look at how the 501st are written, because years ago, it's a little lax now, but years ago, people in the 501st were like sticklers for screen accurate, and the Rebel Legion was not. They were more for big picture. You know what I mean? Like. And so the CRLs reflected that. And the Mando Mercs, we didn't know what the hell to make of them, you know.
They made it up themselves.
Yeah.
Although it's interesting that you bring them up, because not just the merch, but recently there was some stuff going around with the costuming groups, and there was one of them in particular that was looking to have costume updates, meaning that if you were approved, you would have to get reassessed to make sure that your kit is still matching the CRLs, that you haven't exceeded you haven't expanded over COVID or whatever, and folks were very annoyed and frustrated by this.
Oh yeah, well, like my TK wouldn't pass now. Like I'd have to cut the butt plate and have to change a couple pieces on it. But again, like the Mando Mercs, I always laughed at them because people always thought they were going to join the Mando Mercs because they didn't have any standards. And in some ways, the Mando Mercs are even stricter on a lot of things than the 501st. Like when it comes to like a cohesive kit and what helmet goes with what. Like I think people thought, well, look, I'm just going to buy a Boba Fett helmet and I'm going to stick a plastic plate on my chest and I'll be in the Mando Mercs.
Yep.
You know.
And I wish it was that easy.
And I think Saber Guild they just use whatever CRL is of who you want to do. So if you want to do Obi-Wan,
Well,
they just like, you know,
there's those characters. However, if you're doing an original character, then it's even murkier.
yeah. That's Dark
And that's-
Empire too.
Yeah, and here's something that I've struggled to understand, especially with those original characters. Let's say I wanted to do an original Jedi. Who is it that decides what a Jedi would really wear?
True.
You know, so does my Obi have to be a certain color? Does it have to, does my tunic have to be a certain color? Do I have to wear certain boots and all that kind of stuff? And it gets really weird really fast.
Well, and this, I know this isn't our costuming segment, but it also comes down to people should do whatever costume they want to do. No questions. But I've seen and I know I say this all the time, I've seen way too many people take the costume of least resistance, and it isn't that much cheaper, and then no one knows it. They'll be like, I want to do the deck officer that carried the thing into the Falcon. So they have a green or gray jumpsuit with it, whatever. And no one knows it. We had at my school, we did a Halloween thing pre-Force Awakens. We did a Halloween thing at my school. So Star Wars was not quite, it wasn't back to being people's mindset. Well, someone showed up in a Imperial officer's uniform, and I had to explain to the one teacher, no, they're not a Nazi, because they thought they thought someone was dressed up as a Nazi. So you have to, be careful with what you think of. And we have a couple guys doing Revan, which to me, if I was going to do Revan, I would wait to see if they come out with it. I picture Revan is going to be one of those characters. Either they don't make anything, movies or something with Revan, or he'll be the next one. He'll be one of these secret projects that all of a sudden, and the costume will be all different, and they'll be like, "What? I just spent,
Well, speaking of who do you think is going to show up in the Acolyte? Who do you think that'll be?
When does that take place? When does that?
It takes place before Phantom Menace.
So that they could recon Revan into that, right?
Because I think it's supposed to be 100 years before a Phantom Menace.
Was that High Republic time? Is that High Republic time?
It might be the tail end of the High Republic.
I thought High Republic was like 300 or 400 years before the Phantom Menace.
Well, I think they did a time jump on some of it. Zoe was telling me some of it jumped. Well, we could see a Yoda, right? In Acolyte.
Yeah.
Because Yoda's one of those evergreen characters, not because he's green, but because he's one of
900 years of history. So
right. But I'm saying he's one of those things where the merchandise, no matter when they put out stuff, they always bring Yoda out. Like they'll be, I'll just throw a stuffed Yoda in that box too.
Well, I wonder if they would be willing to do anything around Plagueis.
Yeah.
You got me with that one, Mike.
I'm
the
sorry.
Evergreen joke. That was clever.
These that's the other thing about your podcast, John, that I like. It is evergreen in the sense that someone can listen to that episode of you and your dad, where Zoe's is, some episodes are evergreen, but most are just topical and timely. And I think the evergreen stuff is really good.
Yeah, well, hey,
they could have Chewie or a Wookiee.
Well, I mean, yeah, you could always use a Wookiee.
Yeah, they're just not using Chewie as much as I thought they would. I thought we'd have more Chewie because they got Yornis, and it's like.
Well, I wonder if that's gonna come once Donald Glover has more availability.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think the Lando show will. I mean, if they can't put the new Han and Chewie in that, then we might as well just forget seeing Han and Chewie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was hoping to see Han in the Book of Boba Fett as a cameo, but I was thinking about this today because I was reading the Princess and the Scoundrel, which
You're reading. Wait a minute, I thought you didn't read.
I know, but like I heard so many good things about Brotherhood and The Princess and the Scoundrel. I'm like, well, maybe. But like I was reading that and I'm like, and I was just it got me thinking back of when all the rumors of Han showing up in the Book of Boba Fett and how they're de-aging Mark Hamill.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking like they would have to throw millions of dollars at Harrison Ford to actually get him back to do the mocap for de-aging. But they've got all. I was wondering if they would use Alden Ehrenreich in anything like post Empire.
I think they're going to save him if they're going to use him. I think they're going to put him with the new Lando.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's why I think I think he's been accepted in that time period.
Yeah.
You know, that's because that was a good Lando. I mean, that was a good Han.
Well, once he was given the room to do it, I mean, there was so much around those movies where they had to get an acting coach and they weren't happy with his performance and all of that swirl that occurred when the movies were being made. And that's one thing too. I don't remember that stuff during the prequels. I sure as heck don't remember it during the original trilogy because I was a child at the time. But nowadays it just seems like that's such a huge part of Star Wars conversation.
What do you mean?
The thing is being made now, and people are already poking holes in it, and they haven't even seen it yet.
Yeah. Well,
so they're creating on-set drama that isn't even necessarily drama or on the set.
Well, and to bring it back to Rogue One, I was thinking, because they remember they had, was it Gilroy came in and fixed it? I put in quotes, right?
Yeah.
Trevor was it Trevorrow? No. Who was the
one?
No,
it was
not.
It was Was it Miller?
No, Miller and Lloyd were from Solo, or Lloyd Miller or whatever.
Lloyd Miller.
It was the guy. Oh, he was in it because he was in the trench. Remember, he tasted the salt or whatever, or he was right near the guy tasting the salt.
Gareth Edwards.
Yes.
Yeah.
And to me, Rogue One is the perfect example of why we don't need to know all this nonsense, because Lucasfilm looked at whatever they did and they fixed it without throwing the previous director under the bus. Without, you know what I mean? Like, they're just like, look, they didn't like badmouth him, right? And it just went, and that's how things used to be. Now everything is a big drama, Yeah,
because I mean, I don't. Did you ever hear when Empire was being made that Kirshner was going over budget and was causing delays and all that kind of stuff? I mean, yeah, you heard about it, years later, but you didn't necessarily hear about it in the midst of.
Well, and that also could be, it could be the curse of George, in the sense that George tried to show us how movies were made, and we kept running with it. Like, he wanted to show us the fancy, cool stuff. Well, then we kept going. You know what I mean? Like, he let us in the back door, and we kept looking at more and more.
Yeah.
I mean,
he let us look in the door during the prequels. I mean, he had a whole web series with Ahmed Best.
Yeah.
Who was doing these little shorts while the movies were being made.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think in that regard, George, but it's just, I think even the people I don't like in what they say about stuff, I do understand why, because Star Wars becomes so connected to us. Like, we wouldn't be having a podcast about a movie that started in 1977 if somehow all this stuff connected with me, you, John's dad. And so some people just run with it the wrong way. They think, well, look, I've had this since 1977. I must know better than anyone else, because we all get single focused. It's just like when you were talking about Sky Talkers and getting, you get a little jealous. I have a daughter. I get jealous of all her Star Wars stuff she gets to do, but I don't, you and I don't take that and make, like, you're not online saying Sky Talkers are terrible, and I'm not on, like, trying to bash Zoe. You know what I mean? Like we understand our love for it, and we're happy for the people that like it. Where these other people are, they're just trying to, bend it into their will.
Yeah, I guess that definitely is an interesting, way to explore it.
And the toys made us do that. The toy commercials of Star Wars never told us to recreate scenes in Star Wars. They told us to take the toys and go on more adventures.
Yeah, and the adventures you had with your characters may have been different than the adventures I had with my characters, but it didn't make yours less or mine more, or
Right.
vice versa. They were just adventures.
Right, but some people don't understand that. Some people, they think because the Book of Boba Fett's a perfect example of you had Boba Fett with for the average Star Wars fan, they didn't read all the comic books, probably didn't read most of the books, but they had this preconceived notion of Boba Fett and how great he was. And then when they watched the Book of Boba Fett, they're like, wait a minute, shouldn't he just be killing everybody? Because because one minute they want Star Wars to be realistic, but then the next minute when they give us realistic Star Wars of what someone 30 years later would be like, they're like, wow, that's not how Luke is. Luke should be doing backflips and flipping around it,
You expect him to face the entire First Order with nothing but a laser sword?
Yeah. But that's what I mean. Like, it's it's grown with us, and because Marty and I have this discussion all the time, because Marty isn't a big sequels fan. It's not his thing.
Really?
I mean, he likes them, but he's not. You know what I mean? Like, but that's Marty who he is, and that's how none of us sit around and talk about what we dislike. Like if we had Marty on this, he would talk just as good about the movies and stuff. But I just personally am one of those idiots that I really can't find anything I dislike about Star Wars. So,
well, you're at least one of three.
Yeah. So, I mean, to me,
you're the lead idiot.
Bad Star Wars is still better than most.
And so I do want to, so you mentioned this idea of, more Star Wars. Think about how spoiled we are right now. So there was 16 years in between Return of the Jedi and The Phantom Menace?
Yep.
With no movies other than the 2 Ewok movies, and I know not everybody counts those.
Right. Well, they were missed by some people.
Pardon?
They were missed because you didn't have the internet.
Yeah.
Like if you just didn't happen to know they came out, you never knew they existed.
Yeah, that's true. But now we're getting multiple Star Wars things each year, and there are still folks that find something to complain about it.
Well, not only that, are we getting multiple things each year? Did anyone else notice that the Bad Batch season 2 release date hasn't changed? So we're going to be getting 2 things a week for at least it'll be 9 weeks?
Right.
Yeah, 2 months almost, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So we're going to be getting a lot of Star Wars.
Comic books, even comic books. I can't keep up with the comic books.
Oh, I quit.
Because
I stopped buying them.
I felt like it was a car payment just to go because it'd be like, well, do you want the 6 variant covers and there's 14 miniseries? Like I missed a week with the pandemic and I went to pick up my books. Like I missed a couple of weeks and then I went, so it was like 6 weeks worth of books. It was over $100. I was like, I'm gonna have to cut some of these back because I went to the digital for a while. I just felt sacrilegious and dirty for reading digital comics, but I just couldn't, and it just space. But yeah, I mean, we have so much Star Wars, like you go in any store, probably any store, you can find a Star Wars something, a Grogu sticker or a, you know what I mean? Like you can go in Five Below.
Mandalorian bath bomb.
Yeah.
Damn it. Beat me to it.
But you can go to Five Below and pick up this is a Five Below Star Wars t-shirt,
And it's not black. I'm very impressed.
I know.
Yeah.
Right?
Ken and I are the only ones on point today.
I can't. It's our Garrison loves black t-shirts, man. I just can't take black t-shirts anymore.
Oh, trust me. anytime I think like, oh, I should wear X shirt today, I'll have to dig through probably 100 shirts, and they're all black.
Yeah.
So it's not like I can get any assistance. It's like, okay, well, is it this black shirt? No. This one?
Well,
No.
and I was raised differently, so we got that shirt from Matt, and I was wearing. I was like, Missy, this is like such a beautiful shirt. She looked at it, she's like, that's because it's all cotton. Because I'm used to buying like the cheap shirts that they're hit or miss. One time it feels like sandpaper, and the next time it feels like it's cellophane sticking to your skin. She's like, that's because it's all cotton. I was like, oh, okay. You know.
Yeah.
We have 2 people watching. Who's that? But no one's chiming in. Is that
Oh,
John watching it?
No, it's not me this time.
It might be Heather.
Oh, good. Okay.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
she's
There,
not-
here we go. Here we go. Yeah, Nick said, don't worry about never have to worry about sold out comics. Yeah, I know. Me being an old comic book store owner, digital comics just seem bad to me. The only Dark Horse made pretty decent digital comics because they actually put effort into them and they would animate when you turn the pages and stuff. But I don't know. I like paper comics, but I'm probably going to go buy graphic novels. I'll probably get rid of some of my originals and graphic novel it up. But that has to wait till the basement's done because I need places to put stuff.
Yeah, I stopped buying comics altogether probably 3 months ago, just because I was struggling to keep up with all of them.
Yeah, when it felt like a chore, like it felt like when I used to just sit and read them and they were fun. But then when it started feeling like, oh, I have to read this, I was like, well, maybe I don't need to.
Well, also too, I mean, I know that an individual comic isn't expensive. You're talking $4 or something like that. But then when you add up all of the series together, and trying to keep up with all of them, to your point about the pandemic, I missed going to pick up my haul for a couple weeks, and they had taken the ones that they had set aside for me and sold them to somebody else. So I was missing issues and all of that. So never mind.
Well, yeah.
And I have, if I had to guess, I probably have 8 or 9 short boxes filled with comics. And I haven't gone back to some of them in quite some time. Like you mentioned Dark Horse, like the Jedi Legacies and even the original Marvel ones. I haven't read those in a while, and they're taking up space.
I used to buy Dark Horse. 90% of my Star Wars Dark Horse was just for the covers. Their covers were like works of art.
Yeah, they were fantastic.
So
some of the stories were wild. Like the is it Cade, Cade, or is it Cade Skywalker?
Oh yeah. Some of those. Well, see, Dark Horse was known for that because they kind of screwed up the Alien brand for a while. Remember that?
Yep.
They screwed up Dark Horse used to be like, hey, we're not listening to what they say. We just make this happen. No, Nick Hall is listening on Facebook. His things aren't popping up. But that reminded me of something to talk about. Our new costuming group on Facebook. Ajax Citizen.
Oh, yeah. Ken, did you join?
No, I didn't.
What?
Oh, so, but the one thing about Ajax Citizen is it proved, I already knew this.
You guys didn't invite me to this thing?
I thought we did. But what it proved to me how invaluable let me see. Yeah, I thought I invited you. Hang on. Invite.
Oh yeah, she did invite me. I thought.
Oh, okay. Well, there. See. No, you join that. But it reminded me of how invaluable Nick is when it comes to it. I only posted it up for a second, and he found the goggles. He identified the fabric, everything, and he is a beast when it comes to that. Like, he knows his stuff. Like, if anyone making costumes, I hope Nick doesn't get mad if I'm putting his name out there, but he's the one to talk to with just any kind of stuff you need. He's a wizard when it comes to that stuff. But Ajax Citizen, that's my That's my costume to wear to Batu.
We should do Citizens.
Yeah, well, I was thinking. See, I still think Ajax Citizen personally, because Steele is a really big Seinfeld fan. Like his cat's named Jerry, like probably next to Star Wars. That's his Star Wars skateboarding and then probably Seinfeld. I picture Ajax Citizen as the Jerry Seinfeld of Tatooine, and I picture he has friends similar to the Seinfeld sitcom. Like when he gets back from town, he has someone like Kramer, and he has someone like Elaine, and he has someone like George Costanza. I think would be more like a Jawa, probably. You know, that's my picture. And we just come up with, well, the Ajax Citizen is more for citizens of Tatooine, but I just thought Ajax Citizen, since he would be a good starting point.
So what creature would be Kramer?
I think Kramer. Kramer could be. He could be like a really lanky Gamorrean guard.
See, I was thinking Costanza would be a Gamorrean guard.
Well, yeah, maybe. Yeah, you're probably right. I was thinking Costanza, and then I was thinking the mechanic from The Mandalorian could be Elaine too.
Pelimato.
Yeah. But
what about a Davronian for Kramer?
What's a Davronian? You have to explain it.
Like the devil looking guy.
Oh, the devil guy. Yeah, that would be a good one. Or we could do the furry guy. That guy.
Are they that tall though? I can't remember.
No, they're not that tall. They're probably like human. Yeah. Or what's his name? What's the guy who referred them to Chewie? That was
Boshek.
Yeah, Boshek. That would be a Kramer. He looked like a Kramer guy. He could be Kramer. Boshek. But Newman could be the Ugnaught. Newman could be an Ugnaught.
Oh yeah, that would be perfect.
And
he'd have to snort every once in a while.
Yeah. But yeah, that was our group. But that's Nick. Nick showed his skills. I've trooped with Nick a couple times too. So his brother does the Mando, does the partially Imperial, the White Mando. He was at Keystone.
Oh, okay.
That's his brother. Remember
Nick Conrad?
No, Hall. I think his brother's Andrew. Andrew?
I'm getting the names mixed up, I think.
Yeah, his brother does the white Mandalorian, real skinny kid. It's like a white
like white with red.
White with red, and it has some Imperial like parts to it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's Andrew. My names are terrible. Kramer could be the one of the people leaning out the windows when Vader comes to town. Yeah, that's true. But,
yeah, you lost me at Seinfeld.
Yeah, well, that's before your time. That's a generation thing. Your dad will get the joke better, I think.
Nah, he's not a sitcom
Not a Seinfeld
fan.
See, Seinfeld was just that time. It was just that time when I just got married, and it was like that was like your Thursday night, so you had something to talk to at work. I worked at the Chevy dealer, and you go into work and talk about Seinfeld. Man, life really sucked back then.
Do you think Therm Scissorpunch would make a good Zoidberg?
Oh yeah, there we go. I forgot all about him.
Dr. John Zoidberg, Futurama.
Futurama.
Well, we could do a Futurama crew. There were some good Futurama cosplayers at Steel City one time.
What?
So, I have a picture of it. I'll dig the picture out.
You guys are friends with me on Facebook. Futurama is
Yeah.
my Star Wars adjacent.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to think. Well, I've been watching what's the newest one? Disenchanted. Yeah, I've been watching that. Because I told Missy, me and her like Elfo and Bean.
I haven't watched any of that. I guess I gotta start watching it.
Oh my god. If you like fantasy and like in Matt Groening's like comedy style, 100% worth the watch. I haven't seen the newest season because they're on part 4 now.
I'm not even sure where I'm at. It's just I was just checking it out. But yeah, it's good. It's
Yeah.
good.
And there are Futurama Easter eggs in it too.
Yeah.
That's what butters my egg roll.
Yeah. I remember when I had my comic book store, I had a Simpsons section. And I couldn't believe Simpsons were still going on back then. That was in '94. And I was like, I can't believe the Simpsons are still going.
Well, didn't the Simpsons do an episode or a part of an episode that included Mandalorian?
They had some Star Wars. They're actually they had some clips on Disney Plus of the Star Wars versions they had Ahsoka and stuff like that
Really?
too. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
I don't think I've watched.
this.
I haven't watched an episode of The Simpsons since the Simpsons movie came out.
Yeah. There's Diggs BTW7. Oh, there we go. I don't know who that is, but yeah. So okay, so we were talking about, I don't know what we were talking about. Oh, Ajax Citizen.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so Nick just said they did a lot of intros with Star Wars, which I knew they did that. Oh, Newman would be Bib Fortuna, he said. Newman, so that would be a good one. Newman could be Bib Fortuna.
Or Nia Nub.
Neum Nub. Neum Nub though would be Uncle, what's his name? Uncle Leo. Remember Uncle Leo?
Who would play Costanza's dad then with all the festivals?
Oh man,
that feisty old guy.
Costanza's dad. Yeah, that would be. Well, he
or
could
would
be.
Would it be an old Gamorrean?
Yeah. Yeah. Instead of yelling, he would just chop stuff up with his axes. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like he oh man, this is taking us down a rabbit hole that you and I did, and John's like, man, these guys are old.
Sorry, Ark's messaging me.
Oh, okay. Oh, you getting your pictures? Yeah, so there's a lot of Simpsons intros. You know, it is weird, like the and maybe this is a good way to end it, because I'm gonna have to check out soon because I gotta get ready for school. And I still have class lists to print.
Oh boy.
Huh?
I said, oh boy.
Yeah, fun times. No, I always hate the first day of school because I'm terrible at pronouncing names, and I always worry I'm going to mispronounce a kid's name that kid will be made fun of because of that. That's how middle school goes. You know, if you call them by the wrong name, or you inflect the wrong syllable or something. So that's always like the dread of me.
Yeah, way to go, ruining his year.
I know, that's what I mean. That's, you know,
Aaron, D nice.
Yeah. I got homework. Yeah, well, this is our first day of school tomorrow, so. But yeah, no, we have a couple till Andor, and Zoe's, like I said, Zoe's going to see at El Capitan. She was supposed to go to a John Williams concert in the Hollywood Bowl or something like that. But because the school, because she's out there, they pay a activity fee, so the school takes them places, since they're not, in the dorms and stuff like that.
Are they taking them to Magic Jump?
No, I mentioned that before, but she doesn't seem nearly as excited about Magic Jump as you.
Well, tell her she's not allowed to come home until she visits Magic Jump.
She knows that's not true. I've ruined that for.
You need to say it with a stern face.
Yeah, my kids know I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff.
Well, then have Missy tell her.
Yeah. Missy's even wishy-washy. I'm the strict parent, which is odd.
Well, then put the hammer down and get her to go to Magic.
I'll get her. I'm right now. I'm trying to get her to cash in and use all these favors that people said they will gladly help her with. That's what I'm trying to do right now. All these people that said, look, call me when you this and that. And she's like, well, I don't want to bother them. I'm like, bother them.
They invited the bother.
Yeah.
You just need to cash in on the ultimate favor of, hey, I put a roof over your head for 21 years.
Yeah, she knows me better than that. She knows me.
And like I said, if you want to come home, you need to get pictures of Magic Jump.
Right now, I just just want her to. I want her to have all these lunches she has planned with these people, and hopefully get some internships, and then we'll work on John getting his internship.
Yeah,
She
no
can't
kidding.
internship all the time. She needs some downtime in the
No,
bounce
no.
house known as the
No
Inflatable
downtime.
Falcon.
No downtime. We need
Ken,
to
I don't know
invite.
how much pushing we're gonna get through to him on this one.
No, this is her window of time, man. This is
Exactly. She's 17 miles from Magic Jump USA.
You know what I realized though? There's the one thing I realized about Burbank. So you and I, we think 17 miles are nothing. They don't have a really good public transportation system. I would think in California it'd be really good, but they don't have, and traffic is ridiculous. Like
Mike, you're talking to a guy who walked to school.
Okay, uphill both ways.
Of course, with no shoes.
No shoes
in the winter.
Yeah.
And I killed a grizzly bear with a trapper keeper.
No, but like they don't like that Mando party. She did get an Uber. I think it was like $20 or something like that to get to the Mando party. And it wasn't even that far. But she's like, there's no, like Philly, you can just hop on a bus or a train and get anywhere. So
yeah, I do not envy her for not taking a vehicle with her. I don't think I'd be able to do it.
I made a mistake of requesting prices to transport a vehicle out to California. Now my phone blows up with that all day long. But it's anywhere between $1,300 to $2,000 to take your car out.
Yep.
Not to mention all the fees. That's just a base price,
Hey John, you want to drive to California?
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. For that price, if I would have knew it was that much, I would have just driven it out this summer. But the only reason that she doesn't have a car out there is because she doesn't have to drive every day. So she can rent a car. They have a thing with the college they'll let kids under 21 rent a car.
Oh, like a car share program kind of thing?
Yeah. And if she wanted to rent a car, like if she wanted to rent a car from day one and kept it the whole time, it's $2,600.
So that'd be just as much to ship it out there.
Right. And I also told her, I said, look, two or three of her roommates, two of the four, or maybe three of the four, have cars out there. I said, if they need to make extra money, offer them $100 to take you somewhere. It's still cheaper than $2,600. You know what I mean? But I'll get her to Magic Jump. Like again, right now she's still trying to look for internships and stuff like that. So that's the toughest part because she has an internship which she's working hard at, but she's not happy about it. It's an app internship. So
yeah, I think we need a because we're we've been discussing sections and segments of our show. We need a Star Wars Geek Girl update every week.
Yes. Well, I got her a possible guest. Well, I have her a guest. They just have to schedule it. The kid that says Master Skywalker.
Get
out of here. No, so he said he'll do the show.
He's an adult now. He's like 30.
Yeah. No, he's a little older than her. So
way.
He said he'll do the show. So I don't know when.
John, he's getting Zoe guests for her show.
I told you this. I told you. Listen to me. I told you this up front. I specifically mentioned that flaw of me. And
then pass the contact info along, and I'll get him on to either of our shows.
Listen, once he does her show, then I will. But and then Jordan said he'd do her show, so Jordan's going to do her show. So
Ken, he did warn us up front.
I did.
We can't be that mad.
Yeah, but not with as much clarity as you just did 15 episodes into our first season.
Well, I'm curious how that one goes. I mean, the guy.
Have you written another letter to the Inflatable Falcon yet?
I have not. I've been honestly. This week has been nothing but school. Like I said, you
said you got the Master Skywalker kid for Zoe's podcast.
Well, yeah, I don't know how that. I don't know how that came about.
Yeah, I'm finding some holes in your story here.
No, because that was one of those weird things. I think I was reading something. If I was reading something in a faculty meeting, hopefully no one from school ever listens to this. I was just, I was zoning out, so I was reading something, and his name came up, and I was like, "Hey, I wonder." And I sent him a message, and it went through because a lot of times it'll say, can't go through if you're not a friend. And I said, "Hey, my daughter has a podcast," and then it came back, "Yeah, I will." And I was like, "Okay." And then I just made a group chat for us three, and
Did you just DM him on Instagram, or
I don't know if it was Instagram or Facebook, one of those. So,
and I'm so glad you chose that phrase and not using the vernacular that the kids are using these days. So,
what's that?
Yeah, I slid into his DMs.
Oh yeah.
That has a totally different context than what you think.
Well, plus, but I'm excited if that works out.
Yeah,
but only if he says the line.
Oh yeah. Oh, that'll be the rider. Okay, we can talk about everything and anything, but I will not say these words at all. He won't say any of those words, so you can't mash it together. You know what I mean? He won't say master.
What are we going to do? There are too many of them.
They'll be like, he can't answer any like what's 1 + 1. I can't say the word. He can't say the word 2 because we might, we'll dub it, we'll split it up, and you know what I mean.
Do you think you could get Kitster on our show?
I don't know. That's again. See,
Broom Boy?
You guys have to reach out because I'm telling you, if let's say you said, "Okay, Mike, here's all the contact for Kitster," right? And I got in hold of him, and he said yes. I would send him the Zoe's show first. I would say, and then next week I'd say, "No, I haven't heard back from him," and then you'd be listening to Star Wars Geek Girl, and they'd be like, "What Kitster's on?" I know my weakness. I'm sorry. Maybe they were right when I was running for office, and they said he puts his kids first.
So you yourself mentioned tonight that you're old enough to be John's father.
Yes.
When are you going to start treating him like the son that you always wanted?
That's a valid point, Ken. Thank you for bringing that up.
And you're about to dress like his grandfather, so there can't.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Nick said Kitster was in the most recent Vader comics.
He was
really.
Now I have to get back into the comics again.
Thanks, Nick. You just cost us all $5.
Which issue, Nick? I need to know.
Yeah.
So I don't waste my time looking at the wrong ones.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. What's your expectations for Andor? We just talked about that, but why is there a Nazi sign after your thing? That's a little off-putting.
Yeah.
Well, that person may not have been on when we were talking through all that stuff with Andor.
Yeah, we did do an Andor. I gotta put I gotta somehow get rid of that. That I'm sure you didn't mean anything. I hope you didn't mean anything offensive about it, but that Nazi sign really bothers me. I'm sorry. Oh, it's a typo. Okay, thank you. Maybe I should get this new comic. Yeah. Let me see if I just don't. I'm sorry. I don't. Someone typed some stuff. I just want that. I want that Nazi sign to go away. I'm sorry. It's just.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be over.
It's going to take us down now.
One of the other expectations I have for Andor are lots and lots of new costumes.
Yeah. Well, and I think this is just like the Mandalorian Mercs was a heyday for the Mandos. I think this is going to be Rebel Legion's. I mean, I think you're going to see 501st and stuff like that, but I think Rebel Legion is going to see.
Well, I think it has a potential for both. To your point, I mean, think about just the different director costumes that we've seen, and the I don't know what if they're special guards or whatever. So I definitely think that because it's 24 episodes, and if the episodes are half an hour long, that's
it's each season is 8. So this first season is only 8 episodes.
I thought they were doing 2 12-episode seasons.
Maybe I see. You could be right, but I thought at the panel. I thought at the panel. What's his face? The director said 3 of 8, but he might have said. I don't know. I have to go back and rethink. Here, I'm posting up. Nick posted there. Nick posted up the Vader stuff for people interested in the Vader comics. Nick always comes through, man. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, the thrift store. Well, again, what's going to happen is someone's going to find out. Someone like Nick. Again, if you're not following Nick Hall and all his stuff on Facebook and stuff, you're missing out. But someone like, with Nick's skills is going to find out what each piece of clothing came from. Like, some Denmarkian World War II surplus T-shirt or something, and they will have been free at thrift shops one day, and then they'll all be on eBay for like $400 the next day. That's going to be the rub.
Yeah.
But the blaster,
just real quick. First, it's 2 12-episode seasons.
Okay,
and
so then
the first 3 episodes are going to be almost 2 hours long between the 3 of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so then maybe he was talking about they were trying to get a 3rd season of 12. I don't know. I for some reason I thought he said 3 seasons 8, but I think you're right because now that I remember, I think he was saying the season was longer.
The other thing I had heard related to Andor was that there were going to be 3 episode arcs at some point.
Oh, nice.
And each of those arcs would cover a span of time. So it wouldn't be episode 2 follows immediately at the end of episode 1, that there'll be space in between them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, the main thing I remember him saying was when the season ends, when the show ends, it will walk you right into Rogue One.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, because they were talking about the second season was going to be, so the first season's supposed to take place over several years.
Yeah.
And then the second season's supposed to be a little more concise and then walk you, like you said, walk you into Rogue One. So if they're wanting to get a 3rd season pushed, I mean, now is almost the time they're going to have to do it.
Yeah, I can't see. For some reason, I was thinking they were saying 3 seasons of 8, but I could be. I was running on like no sleep at Celebration, so I could have heard. I just heard numbers.
That's right. We'll only blame you for not getting guests on our show, never for being tired.
Well, and yeah, the
well, he did get Matt.
Who?
Good point.
You got
Good point.
You got Matt on our show the one time.
Matt who? Oh, Matt
Mickelson.
Mickelson. Oh yeah, sorry. I knew too many Matts. I was like, did Matt? I was thinking of another Matt. It's like no.
Where this show's gone so downhill. What are we doing?
We were so on point.
We were
earlier.
doing well, and then but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think Andor is gonna. I think for the Rebel Legion and for those costumes, the costumes look very nice, very organic, and I think.
Do you think ET will show up in Andor?
I don't know, but did you see the one Tim O'Sullivan's building?
No.
Is he building an ET?
Yeah. And he has it on Facebook and his Instagram. And it's beautiful. It's better than ET, because his Baby Yoda is better than the one, other than the one they actually used for the show. It's better than anything else I've seen.
He still hasn't accepted my friend request. Oh, boy.
You see his ET?
That is insane.
He's not far from you. I mean, he's in your state. He's in your garrison.
He's in Dayton, though.
He is the big. He is the big furry creature. He has a bunch of the stuff that could be in Andor. Like he's going to be on a heyday with that. My only concern with some of the Andor costumes, if you don't put them with other Star Wars characters, they're not going to look Star Wars. Like some of the Rebels.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like that's
maybe.
Right, but I mean, I'm just saying, like they're the kind of costumes you have to watch if you're walking down the street dressed as a rebel soldier carrying weapons, someone might be like, wait, you know.
Yeah, or not even weapons, just carrying tools.
Yeah.
So this gentleman wanted to know, it said something about Andor being a sleepy janitor, and I think Andor is going to start off as a child.
Yeah.
And to his point about diversity, there's going to be so many different folks because they are going to be at the street level. They are going to be showing,
Yeah.
the impact that the Empire is having on citizens in different places.
Well, yeah, they're going to show, like, if you read the one book that had the background of Rose Tico's family, the First Order kind of did what the Empire did. They'd find a resource, and they'd basically have the own people of that planet mine it to death, and then so long, see
Thanks
you
for all
later.
your stuff.
Yeah. So, and I think the Lucasfilm is doing a great job of fleshing out the universe so everyone, because representation really does matter, and it's fleshing it out so everyone can enjoy it and feel like they have something. Not that you need to look or be exactly like a character, but it does help you in that regard,
Yeah, it's just amazing how they're doing much more about just the common folk, not the folks that have magic,
Yep.
not the folks that are highfalutin and deeply embedded, like Admiral, or not Admiral, sorry, Director Krennic. He was connected at the highest levels of the government and so on. So they're showing all of those different layers. And it'll be interesting to see which droids show up, because there's that one red droid that has the treads. Was it a 2 EMO or whatever?
Yeah.
And I think the second season we're going to see where K2SO came from.
Yeah. Yeah. I blocked that cream. I think that cream pie person was just slowly using racial stereotypes to be a jerk.
Well, I think it was from that typo.
Yeah, I don't think that was a typo. We should have known, because I don't think you can accidentally, if you're accidentally putting a swastika out, then your keyboard is configured. And I don't know how I accidentally. We give them the benefit of the doubt, but what you got to do. But luckily I can block him on here, so I just blocked it. So.
That's nice.
But I don't know. All right, gents.
That all she wrote?
That's all she wrote. Like I said, I gotta go do a little. I gotta beat a school and see what we can do. Maybe I'll try to talk to Jeff Leone and see if we can get him on here.
Well, in case you're wondering, we'll probably get together the week after Labor Day to record our next episode of The Forces Behind Star Wars.
Oh, nice. Okay.
I'm not sure if we'll have the whole Rad Batch together or not.
Dude, I'm telling you, you got to reach out and have Zoe on your show. I think she'd be a hoot.
Yeah, I just have to figure out, someone who knows her that could put in a good word for us.
You listen. If I constantly tell her, but if you reach out to her, she'll answer quicker. The only person she listens to quicker than me, though, is Sal. She'll listen to him pretty quick. But I think she's doing one with Eric Struthers this weekend. She's doing a podcast with him from Bad Motivators. So,
how about you, John? When can we expect to hear the next Beskar bucket?
Still transitioning to a new job, so probably not this week, unless I magically find time in the next 24 hours. But I would say probably next week at the very latest.
Is your mom the next one? You'll hear your mom's side of the story.
Oh, Jesus. I can only imagine what that conversation... That'd be a 10-minute episode.
Yeah, but it'd be a really funny 10 minutes, because it would probably be about how she wanted to kill you and your dad for all the toys that you were buying.
True.
She came this close to being to being jailed for making her family 2 people smaller.
I'll roadmap how that episode would go. So it would be, I hate that your dad indoctrinated you into this cult, but I'm glad that it makes you happy. I don't like how much money you spend on it, but I'm glad that it makes you happy. And that would be it. So, which really, it was my grandmother who indoctrinated me into this.
Well,
Which that
and you
story
could say
doesn't
that
get
she
shared often.
indoctrinated your dad into it too. She was involved in that.
Yeah.
And what's your nickname for your grandma? Is it Nana?
Nana.
Nana.
We're Italian.
Yeah, so you blame her. Like it's her fault.
Yeah, right.
See, we were Italian and we called him Grammy. So I mean, we were bad Italians, I guess.
Well, we're Sicilian, so that's
We are too. We are too.
What's the matter with you?
My grandfather never ate pizza. We ate pierogies. We came from whatever Italians ate pierogies in Sicily. That's another whole episode. I have my grandfather's father killed a police officer during a strike in Pittsburgh in the early aughts of the 1900s, and I have the transcript of his trial, and then he was killed in jail or something like that. And so my grandfather was raised by a single mother in the teens, and then I wound up being raised by him, and then
your dad was so worried about telling people that he changed the prices on a Star Wars toy.
Yeah, I know.
and
I'm a criminal.
Well,
I mean,
criminal. I was raised by criminals.
No, I mean it's. But yeah, my grandfather was a blonde-haired, blue-eyed Sicilian. Then his hair went gray young, but he had like olive color skin. But yeah, they were the Velladas. See, where I live in Lancaster County, up until I would say the late 60s, early 70s, you could not get hired in Lancaster County with an Italian name in any of the bigger trades. So most of my grandfather's family changed their last names they dropped them, like to whatever, because it's Chester County line, Lancaster County line, and like the Mennonites and Amish wouldn't hire. They called them foreigners. They wouldn't hire Italians.
Was your family on that side big?
My family? No, not really. I mean, we have cousins and stuff, but my grandfather had like 2 siblings.
So there wasn't a lot of Velladas?
No, not a lot of Velladas. But his cousin's name was Ballada with a B. And my grandfather's
with a B.
It started with a B, and his name started with a V. And he just said he thinks they could never pronounce it right.
Go on, Ken, make your joke. There's a pause there for you.
There's one in there, but yeah, I think I'll just end on a lot of Balladas.
And then we have my grandmother was from Missouri, so she was like hillbilly all the way through, and then she met my grandfather, and he said when they went to visit in Missouri during World War II, his family went on and on about how they didn't like Italians and Catholics and black people, and my grandfather as well. I was 2 out of the 3 that they didn't like. So yes, it's a weird upbringing.
Did they cook with a lot of cheese?
No, we ate potatoes. Like that was 90% of what I grew up on was potatoes. Like now, if you're rich, it's called potatoes multiple ways. Ours was just okay. We're gonna have baked potato. Like you would have like a piece of ham, like that would be like one person's portion. That would be a piece of ham like that with potatoes and green beans, and that's all we'd have all week. We would they just make a big pot, and you'd have potatoes and green beans for like until you ran out, and then you would have, and then once a year we had hot dogs and cupcakes, because my grandfather was a house painter, and he would paint this one bar every spring, and half his pay they would give him a case of hot dogs and a case of tasty cakes. And so 1 week in the spring, we were always excited to have hot dogs and tasty cakes. I lived a simple life, man.
How
I
about
was
look
trying to
at you
figure
now?
out how to slide ricotta in there, John, and that's where the cheese question came from.
I don't have.
damn
Yeah,
it.
I'm sorry. Nope. We
That the
didn't have no
voladas
cheese.
cooked with ricotta,
No.
but there wasn't a lot of them, so it was a little bit.
You
And my
still found a
grandma-
way to slip that in there too, which is the worst part. That's what makes it
Yes.
even worse.
No. And then my wife's family's Hurleys. They're Irish. And Zoe used to think Irish and Amish were the same. Like she thought that was the same word when she was really little. So she would tell people that she was Amish. We're like, no, you're not Amish. The only other good story was Zoe was little. She was in here. I'm gonna stop this live stream because I don't want my kid to